All right, welcome everybody. Ivailo versus John the Fearless, the second semifinals of Hidden Cup 4. The winner gets into the grand finals over here, which will be played live after we finish casting this one. Quick look at the draft of the players. We don't need Twitter anymore. Ivailo is going to pick Quarry as his first home map, Hideout Slopes. Other side, John the Fearless, Cross Cup Bay. I feel like, as I said, you might have gotten used to this already if you have been seeing all my casts on YouTube, that I usually say my predictions for these players, so here are my predictions. Ivailo, I think, is Viper, and John the Fearless seems to be Hera, and the Quarry pick here for Ivailo seems to fit, because I'm fairly certain that Viper actually has some game plan in store for us. He probably suspects he's up against Hera, to be honest. Islands ban is very, very reminiscent of Hera, to be honest. Cross Cup Bay. Ivailo was a beast in the previous round on Islands, so no surprise about the Islands ban over there. There will also be two preset games. So game number 4 and game number 7 will be the two maps that weren't picked as home maps. So each player has 3 home maps, but they can only use 2 of them. And there will be game number 4 and game number 7 preset games. I believe that indeed Bypass will be game number 4's preset game, and game number 7 will be Mudflow once again. Civilization-wise, Viking, Aztec, Global Bans, Khmer, Britons, Franks, Huns, Mongols, Turks, Celts, Berbers available for Ivailo. John the Fearless having Japanese, Indians, Teutons, Italians, Mayans, Byzantines, Malay, and the Vietnamese available. And with that, we have the first recorded game. So let's jump inside. So we will have game number 1 coming in here in what could be a Viper versus Hera. If it actually is a Viper versus Hera, then Hera never actually won against Viper in a big event, like in an S tier tournament main event. He has actually defeated Viper in I think the Arabia Invitational last summer, but that was just a smaller tournament. In an S tier tournament, Hero never actually won against Viper, if it's actually the 2 players indeed. Ivailo will be playing with Berbers on the left side in red. Interesting civilization selection, and fairly close to him is going to be Mayans for John the Fearless in blue. Berbers is definitely a sort of awkward civilization to open the game up with, and I'm curious what Ivailo has in store for us here. Because Berbers could have been a very, very good civilization for maps like Cross, potentially. Maps maybe like, maybe even Bay, or maybe even High Tides. I'm going to look at the home maps, but we have Bay, we don't have High Tide. It looks like Bypass and Mudflow are the preset games, so High Tide is going to be left out of the party. I can see why Berbers is the pick over here, especially considering Ivailo lost Chinese to the opponent's snipe. But at the end of the day, Berbers isn't necessarily one of the best civilizations for Arabia, whereas on the other side, Mayans is absolutely an S-tier Arabia civilization. Indeed, John the Fearless was one of the players that actually picked the Bulgarians previously. He also drafted that in the last round, but he didn't end up using it in the previous set. So I guess for John the Fearless, he's still happier playing with the Mayans. There is no point going for Bulgarians on this map, to be honest. And I'm not sure what that was, but that seemed like a wrong hotkey from Ivailo, because that's the foundation of a barracks. And no matter what, an early barracks like that makes 0 sense. So I assume it could have been a hotkey problem for Ivailo. I'm not sure if it was a wrong hotkey set or he just actually misclicked. It could have been just a misclick. But that's actually a barracks foundation that's dead. With that being the case, let's take a look at the maps of the players. Looking at Ivailo, he has technically a volable base, but this would be super, super far out. The problem is the right side being very open, and with that gold mine being problematic. So what I could imagine for Ivailo is maybe voting like this, and then using this gold mine. That would secure woodlands at the back as well, and you can just walk to the TC and later on TC this gold mine. That would be very, very possible for Ivailo. He doesn't know about this forest, but if he finds it, he's gonna be fine. It looks like he actually steals 2 sheep from the opponent. as a laming attempt, as we have John the Fearless going for some early walls here. Apparently he's afraid of a drush, so he's not completely fearless, that's why he's going for some early walls here. We will have a front stone, not so great for Mayans. The gold here is also pretty bad, so honestly both players have a disaster map. And it's also worth pointing out, as I said, that both players are on the left side of the map. The right side feels very, very empty, so this is just in general an awkward map generation here for both players. With that, we're going to have a deer push coming in here for Ivilo. He is free on wood, so that's going to be a scout's play from him, whereas 4 on wood is the normal play here from Johnny the Fearless. So we will have Ivilo coming in. Vice hideout never picked, because players don't like these slow, like, players just don't like these booming games, just like why there is no arena in the map pool, so... some players like to play that map, but it has the tendency to escalate very, very slowly, and players don't really like that, to be honest. So, like, if you ask the majority of the players which map do you like better, Arabia... Well, not Arabia is a wrong comparison because everybody likes Arabia, but if you actually ask them Hideout or Atacama, they will probably say Atacama, because they like to play these early aggression maps more. Some people will say Hideout, but I feel like the Hideout meta is also figured out quite heavily, so those that want to play close maps might actually choose Bypass, potentially Quarry instead. Whereas Hideout is a quite predictable map pick. The reason why it was so frequently picked in Hidden Cup 3 is because Hidden Cup 3 had less maps, and Hidden Cup 3 slopes was a disaster, I think. And that means that, well, it wasn't a disaster, but it was so boring to see Indian meters all the time, and many players didn't want to play that. And just banned slopes, so oftentimes we were left with Hideout. So I think it's also about, is there better maps than Hideout? Last year we didn't really have better maps than Hideout. I think this year we have. The new High Tide is actually more interesting than the one that used to be. The new Slopes is also slightly better than the previous one. So there's just better maps now. Indeed, here comes Ivilo with the Wars. That is actually an interesting 21 pop Man-at-Arm is opening from him. Something that is somewhat unconventional, I would say. With Deer Push, that's definitely viable. In fact, he pushed in all of his deer. This is a new deer patch, so he pushed in all of his deer. He went free on wood. So this is indeed an unconventional and sort of unique build over here. But John the Fearless is just going to wall himself in. He apparently wants to go for what is basically a 22 up standard mana times timing. He has one more Voyager, obviously, because he's Mayans, and it looks like he actually wants to take this fight here with his own Man-at-Arms, but that's going to be a disaster, and you gotta ask the question if this was the right choice from John the Fearless. I think he could have finished the walls in time and just keep those Man-at-Arms on the outside. Man-at-Arms are now in for Ivilo, who is not diving in to this one just yet. So, nice house walls once again from John the Fearless. Look at that gate. That's so Hera-esque. The unit control for these two players is absolutely top-notch. And with that, we're gonna have the Man-at-Arms bashing their way through the walls. And with that, I think now the Man-at-Arms are out. The Ego is actually weaker than a Feudal Age Scout. And because of that house foundation, we can't actually clearly see the combat. But it seems that if Vilo actually wins fairly decisively, he was able to keep his scout alive. This was a decisive win for him. He keeps one Man-at-Arms at almost full HP, and his scout is also full HP. Nice move from John the Fearless, though, saving his ego. That's a very nice move, that he actually saved that ego, because the scouting information is going to be extremely important later on. And let's see if it's a Man-at-Arms into Scouts play. Nope, it's a Man-at-Arms Archers from Ivilo. I guess the idea is that Ivilo wants to force his opponent to switch into Eagles by playing with Archers and Skirmishers, and then he wants to go for Knights. Because if he goes for Scouts here, his opponent is probably going to either stay on Crossbows, or his opponent is going to go Pikemen. But if you go Archers against Mayans with Skirmishers, that's going to force the Mayan player to potentially switch into Ego in early Castle, and that's exactly what you want, because you want to switch into Knights yourself. So with that, that's the eagle that I actually praise that it's alive. And oh, look at that, Ivailo actually blocked the foundation for that house. That was beautiful. That was so beautiful. And now the archers are in, and this house, you're gonna need some more house walls over here if you are blue. A bit of a panic house wall, so to say, even as this house is apparently gonna go down. I don't think that Ivailo can do a lot of damage here, but it's gonna be the idle time. The fact that Ivailo's base is just completely untouched, not even a single bit of damage done to him. I would like to point out that he was able to squeeze in horse color, which is extremely important for his farming. And really, this idle time is crazy. This map has been well wallable for John the Fearless, but he wasn't able to finish the walls in time, and now he's going to pay the price of this one. Indeed, skirmisher being mixed in as well. You already have fletching for Ivailo, and no fletching for John the Fearless whatsoever. In fact, he's just getting the blacksmith up. This is an excellent start for Ivailo, and Ivailo is the only player in this entire tournament that has not lost a single game. That is actually crazy. He hasn't lost a single game yet. He 3-0'd both of his opponents in the first round, in the second round. He has been playing crystal clean. And really, it is mostly suspected that this guy is gonna be Viper over there. So with that, for now, it's a heal advantage as well for him. Skirmishers out there helping out. Nice move from John the Fearless to pick off one archer, and he also picks off the scout. But as I said, the eco efficiency is on the side of Ivailo here, and he breaks through the walls with the leftover man-at-arms. That man-at-arms has been so useful because it helped destroying these houses, and that's how Ivailo, he doesn't want to dive in deeper because he knows that he will just lose his army. What he wants to do is deny free farms, because if you deny free farms, you weaken the opponent's food eco quite heavily, and you beat him to Castle Age. That's the idea. You see that he's not even adding more archers. He knows exactly that, okay, this game is going to continue in Castle Age, and all I want to do is just beat my opponent to Castle Age here. Considering that we suspect that Ivailo is Viper, I don't think he would go for a triple stable knights play, although you never know. Because if you actually expect triple barracks eagles, the cheaper Berber knights, triple stable knights could work out. Although I feel like Viper is a bit more conservative as a player, and he will probably opt to go for double stable knights and additional TC, so he wants to add some eco behind this one, but you never know. In fact, the cheap Berber knight is a very nice counter to a triple barracks eagles of the opponent. It looks like there is no one to hit over here. Ivailo definitely is looking for vultures on the gold mine, but will actually be unsuccessful finding any. And honestly, he wasn't really able to inflict any damage. Or, well, there was some damage, but at the end of the day, John the Fearless still just 6 minutes idle time on the Voyager. It's not something amazing. And the Castle Age times are completely even. There is the barrack. No, it's a range. I like that. I like that from John. I think he knows exactly that if he switches to Eagles, he's gonna beat them by Knights. Here's the problem, though. Early Knights will be much better than early crossbows. So, especially if John the Fearless actually takes a fight here against the Skirmishers, he's gonna be in a bit of a trouble. He will have about 10-15 crossbows, but double stable Knights get 6, 7, 8 Knights out on the field with +2 defense, and suddenly the Eagles will have a tough, or the Archers will have a tough time. Especially if there is a forward siege workshop somewhere around over here pushing this, maybe even over here. If you get a siege workshop here, this could be problematic for John the Fearless, just getting horse color right now. And we already have a second layer of walls coming in here for Ivailo. He's reinforcing all his walls here. You see that he has done it over here already. And he will probably do that on the right side as well, just to make sure that his opponent isn't able to do a lot of damage to him. In case there is a counterattack, we'll try to snipe a Voyager, and will be unsuccessful. For now, at least, John the Fearless needs to keep his archers alive, but I like this skirmisher counterattack, and the reason why is because if Ivailo wasn't counterattacking with this, then John would already be moving out because he wants to hit the opponent's base when he gets crossbowmen. Obviously, he's going to clean this one up, that's not the question. The question is, will those archers be at Ivailo's base when they are crossbows? And the answer is no, and that's what matters. This is all about delay. Ivailo knows very well that he's going to lose these skirmishers and archers, but what he wants to make sure is that he delays this army as much as possible. It looks like John the Fearless wants to maximize his damage output to the opponent's eco and will avoid fighting this one and instead goes for the direct counterattack. That being said, Ivailo probably knows that that is happening and there is already a siege workshop coming in, knights on the way, and I think those crossbows will just directly bump into the siege workshop. It's only 4 knights, and that's not necessarily gonna be enough, although it might be. Cheap Berber Knights might actually be fairly cost efficient against this one. Archers and Skirms not actually being pulled back, and it looks like Ivailo is going to disengage, losing 2 knights, but the Mangonel is at 70%. 3 TCs for John the Fearless, 2 for Ivailo, and I still like the Knights Mangonel play a lot better than the just pure crossbow play. Still, you have to account for the fact that Mayans have very, very nice and easy tech switches, so that is a nice thing to have. A fast husbandry coming in here for Ivailo. Once again, the idea is that fast husbandry helps you chase down archers very, very easily. So Mangonel just now in. There is going to be a monk, but that's just going to be good to convert knights. It won't be able to convert the Mangonel itself. So nice Mangonel hit over there. We are gonna have the Mangonel knocking down the TC over here. Other TC for now is safe. It is 6 knights only, but 2 Mangonels, and I like this decision as well. If John the Fearless decides to just camp inside his own base, take down the barracks, because John could very well add a couple of spearmen or even pikemen to try and weaken the opponent's push here. Nice moves, by the way, from Ivailo to disengage with the knight upon seeing the crossbows, and now what he's gonna do is start shelling that archer range. He's also opening up the war here, so he has a little bit more freedom moving into the opponent's base. Once again, crossbows pop out for John the Fearless, as he's going to see the Mangonels and run away. 3 DCs now for Ivailo as well. The villager lead is slightly on the side of John the Fearless, but he's under heavy pressure, and that's not something that should be underestimated. There is archers over here denying this wood line, and the siege workshop gets denied, which is extremely important because this means that there is absolutely no response to the Mangonels other than good micro with the crossbows, but that's always dangerous. So the siege workshop being denied is a huge thing. Apparently, John the Fearless is going to get that up because Ivailo wasn't looking here for a moment. Mangonel queued up immediately as this TC is under attack. Knight's also trying to do some damage here to the archer range, forcing the archers out. Farms will have to be deleted by John the Fearless here to prevent farmers going there and actually getting killed. And Johnny right now is just trying to jump on top of those Mangonels with the crossbows. Right now it's only 2 Mangonels and there is no third Mangonel coming in here. Mangonel shot coming out from John the Fearless. If you need any other evidence that that player is Hera, I'm just going to rewind this one, but that was a delete trick. That was a delete trick from Hera, or at least what we assume is Hera. Not a lot of players do delete tricks, but you see that there's the Mangonel popping out, and it was a delete attempt. But it was actually a pretty bad one, to be honest. He missed it, and that means that he just lost the Mangonel here really, really easily. He's under heavy pressure, sending 10 villagers to stone, which means he wants to get a defensive castle up for himself. There's a lot of space on the right side that he can fall back to potentially, including an additional gold mine over here. We'll see how much scouting John has though, and the answer is little. He lost his eagle early on, so he doesn't really have a lot of scouting. He doesn't really know about the neutral gold and stone mines. For now he's fine because he's got gold over here and he's got gold over here, but later on that could be troublesome. Still a lot of crossbows inside the TC. Mangonel comes out once again for John the Fearless. Big Mangonel shot from Ivailo, and Ivailo is still just playing surgical precision. So, with that, we will have 3 TCs for Ivailo, who is adding villagers to stone. Could be forward castle eventually. One thing that you have to be careful about with Berbers is that Mayans in late game actually are very capable of beating Berbers. Berbers struggle against Siege Ram. There is Siege Ram for Ivailo. There is there is a possibility for halberdiers, there is a possibility for plumed archers, so the Imperial Age unit composition of Mayans is far better than what Berbers can do, and Berbers are pretty much hard countered by Mayans in Imperial. As Mangonel Dance coming in here once again. John the Fearless decides that now he needs to take this fight as he's losing the range, he's losing the town center over here, gets a University in for Ballistics. He's not impossibly far away from Imperial if he wants to go for that, as we have Ivailo diving in with the Knights, picking off the Mangonel. There's the defensive castle coming in. Once again, the Mangonel Dance is crazy. The execution from Ivailo is just absolutely up in the skies, man. And that's a lot of Knights as well. The Knights might actually commit to this one. The Knights might actually commit to this one. And Lord Doubt bless us over here. I am not sure if that castle goes up. And if that castle is denied, this is game over. I believe Mangonel landing an enormous shot on the crossbows. I think this game is over. And Ivailo, like, he is stomping his opponent right now. Just like he has stomped everybody else that he has actually faced. The Knights will actually find the stone mine now, which is just going to be even worse. Even if the castle goes up now for John the Fearless, it doesn't matter, to be honest, because he's got nowhere to go. That's a nice Mangonel shot, and it looks like John the Fearless isn't willing to resign in this one, but I mean, at this point, if I just sent these two Knights over here, that's minus 5-6 Villagers, and it's 22 army against 9. Another couple of Villagers die here. This game seems over. Because now all you need to do if you are Ivailo is just make sure that your opponent loses as many Villagers as possible getting that castle up. That TC is at 5 HP. Yeah, this castle is not going up. This game seems very much over, to be honest. If you look at the resource for Ivailo, he's actually thinking about Imperial. And the timing... Oh, GG. Coming in here. Probably it was just a typo. It wasn't an intentional simple G. But John the Fearless getting absolutely annihilated, honestly. This wasn't even close. This was a stomp. 75 kills to 23 losses. We don't know who Ivailo is, but I feel like it's Viper, and if it's Viper, it's gonna be the biggest comeback of the year, by the way. Not in terms of this series, but in recent memory, Viper didn't really have great performances. It is suspected that Ivailo is Viper, but recently didn't have great performances, but I guess he was saving the best for the biggest event here. So, let me check if it's actually, like, just a quick look at the Viper's potential, like, recent tournament results. He actually won Master of Socotra, but in terms of S-tier events, quarterfinalist in Red Bull World 3 lost to Villes. In the 2v2 World Cup, he was second place, losing to China. King of the Desert 3 got 3-0'd by Mr. Yo in the quarterfinals. Red Bull World 2 semifinalist 3-1 lost to Leary. So, the last time he actually won an S-tier event was Battle of Africa 2 in last June with team. As a player, the last 1v1 event that he has won, his S-tier, is Hidden Cup 3. He 4-0'd Hera there, but ever since then, he only reached the semifinals once in an S-tier event and never reached the grand finals over here. So, with that, if this is indeed the Viper, then he is extremely sharp, and he really wants to show that he's still potentially the best player in the world. It's hard to say now who is the best player in the world, and I feel like after this tournament, especially considering that Viper wasn't actually winning a lot of tournaments recently, but if he actually has a crazy performance here, then once again the debate on who is the best player in the world is going to come in. But I feel like the answer would be there is no best player in the world right now. Even if Viper wins this tournament, I don't think we can safely say he's the best or there is someone else best. Still, I feel like this gameplay so far, especially considering that he's probably up against Hera, reminds me of the era where I started casting, where Viper was winning everything. With that, we're actually gonna go for game number 2 over here. We will have Ivailo playing as Hans, which is the standard Sith pick here for many players. In red, right side is going to be John the Fearless playing in blue. as Byzantines. So Huns versus Byzantines, somewhat usual matchup. Byzantines definitely have answers to everything that the Huns can bring in, but the mobility is always a problem for Byzantines because there's just no way they catch up with the Hunnic Cav Archers. Even the cheap camos don't really work well because they just die to Cav Archers now. One thing that you have to focus about though, if you're Ivilo, is making sure that you don't get your dog pond or your pond dogged by the opponent. Because if you actually do get your pawn dogged, then you're going to fall behind on water because the Byzantine fire guys will just eat you alive. So you that was a weird lumberjack movement. So you really have to be careful not to let the Byzantine player dock you. It's actually going to be tricky for Ivilo because it's really hard to secure his pawn on the left side. Technically, it's possible to wall this off, but I don't think it's going to happen. So he might just have to keep his scout around here to make sure there's no Roger sneaking up on him. Other than that, his gold mine is very safe. His right side is actually well wallable. The front is a bit open, which is not nice, but not the end of the world, to be honest. This is a very well defendable base with stone, wood lines, and gold at the back. Other side, John the Fearless has a great gold mines as well. Stone mine is very good. And this is the situation where you can definitely think about walling off your pond. This is relatively easy to wall in between these two forests. Then you just drop a house here, and you actually walled off your pond very, very easily. You can wall here, or you can actually use smaller walls early on and then expand towards this gold mine. Doesn't really matter, to be honest, right now. So, we got 5 on wood so far from Ivilo, and no Voyager being sent to the pond just yet. Neither is John the Fearless sending one out, and next one comes in for the pawns. So it's a very, very standard opening from both sides. So, with that, we are gonna have a dog coming in here for Ivilo. It's actually in the corner. Yeah, it's peaceful chopping sounds. Look at that ASMR. Okay, enough of ASMR. I always forget how good it actually feels to just look at this chill. This is the calm before the storm sort of a thing, as John the Fearless runs into the TC fire of his opponent. Not a great start for our blue player here either. So I always forget how chill it is to just look at Vogers chopping wood before all these big post-Imperial battles, launcher shots whatsoever. It just feels chill. Also, those of you that are regular on my channel know that I don't hear any sounds when I cast. I am not using... Well, I'm using headphones, but I don't have them on. So, for 2 years I've been casting the game without hearing any sounds from the game. So, it always feels awkward when I'm playing the game and I actually hear what's going on. So, oh, a second dock. Interesting from Ivilo. What is this going to be? This way he can make sure that Byzantines can't drop a dock on his pond. Now, I would like to point out something. In the previous series, Ivilo played on islands, and on islands, Ivilo had a nice fast castle strategy with double dock pawns. It is technically possible we are going to see fast castle once again with double docks. And one of the reasons why I believe Ivilo is Viper is because there's very, very few people that are innovative or that are that innovative in the community as Viper is. And you see that his opponent is already going into Feudal Age. Don't be misled by this Loom over here, that's just a Capture Age bug. But this is, I think, the same build. This is not a standard build that he's using over here. This really feels like this could be a double dock fast castle build, which is a completely new build And I think it would be extremely interesting to do a video on this. I might actually do a video on this on YouTube at some point, because the biggest problem doing build order videos from competitive games is that, like, I could do the build order myself, but I'm potato as a player, so I would probably mess something up. But I feel like we're gonna have 8 fishing ships here, 150 food right now. If this is indeed an FC, it's gonna be tight, and there is no villagers being added to gold. Gold is now coming in. I am unsure if this is actually FC, but as I said, this double dock play was something that Ivailo played on Islands for himself, and he's going for quite a lot of woes. 328 on gold, or 328 food, queues up 2 villagers, and he has 3 on gold. John is actually going for a dock here, I know, but doesn't really matter, to be honest, currently. He's playing this one safe and he's playing this one standard. The problem is that he's playing this one standard, and you see, it's still going to be awfully tight. I think this needs 1 or 2 deer push, because when Ivailo did this on Islands, he actually did this with deer push. But guess what? Range? He's actually going for blacksmith. Or double with axe. Interesting. I'm not sure if this was the original plan. I think he tried to FC this, because every sign pointed towards him trying to fast castle this. But then he probably realized he doesn't have the food. Because the difference between this build and the Islands build was that on the Islands he actually pushed in all the deer. I think if he pushes in 3 deer here, he could have FC'd this. And the thing is that his opponent didn't really bother attacking him. So at this very moment, he just got away with this one so much. Like, you see that John the Fearless is just chilling, booming on those pawns as well. But it actually still will be a relatively fast castle age here. We might see knights. It's gonna be cav archers eventually, because this table is up for husbandry and bloodlines. But it is not gonna be as fast as a castle age as he originally wanted it to be. But I know it's the same build. I know exactly that's the same build. Because Ivailo did this, and remember, he knows that his opponents, or his future opponents, will only see the results of these games when we are casting them right now, live. And you see, he drops off the food, and it wasn't a super fast castle, because it didn't have the deer pushed in. But this is Action FC. He's gonna idle his TC quite a bit, which I don't like. He could force drop off with the food, or he could have queued up 1 more will. But it wasn't a perfectly clean build here for Ivailo. But I really like this game plan here. He didn't want to engage in fire galley fights with the opponent, and this so far has been pretty much a peaceful Sim City. But this just benefits the Hunnic player, because he's gonna get to cav archers without any problems, basically. So it's gonna be range for skirmishers, no surprise about that, but here's the problem. Mobility, mobility, mobility. Byzantines are slow, Huns are fast. You won't catch the cav archers with the skirmishers, especially if there is mangonel support. Cav archer mangonel will just clap skirmisher defense over here. So it is looking tough right now for our blue player. And this game plan is really good. I'm curious about this build order, because this is why I'm always impressed about not just Viper, but other Gamer Legion members, if this is really Viper. They always can bring up some new strategies. Really, Viper and Taro are probably the most innovative players of competitive Age of Empires. They always come up with some crazy new strategies that somehow actually work out, and it is so amazing to watch them. Both Taro and Viper are amazing at that. Dowd sometimes comes up with new plans as well, but he's not as innovative as the other two. He's more like a general all-around good all-around player, who is also able to use the strategies that he has seen very well. So he's more like, okay, let's see what the opponent is doing, or let's see what my previous opponents did and learn from that. Whereas, really, Viper and Taro just brought in so many brand new build orders. Like, Taro has been playing Saracens when they were actually bad still, and he was able to engineer good plays with that. There were so many instances in previous tournament history where these two players actually engineered insanely good strategies. And you see that this is a strategy that, if this is Viper indeed, he actually kept this for himself. I did mention that Gamer Legion members practice together. They have a Discord where they share strategies with each other, but obviously there is individual preparation for these players as well. And I think this is part of Viper's individual preparation, if this is really Viper, because this is something that we haven't seen from anyone. This is a version of the same build. Basically, the concept is the same. You do double Dark Age, and then go for a fast castle. The only thing that you change is what you actually invest in your, like what you actually spend your wood and gold on. It might even be the same eco balance. On the Islands game, you actually spend it on fire ships. On the Cross game, you actually spend it on Cav Archers. That's the entire difference. We're gonna have Vorgali coming in here, by the way, for John the Fearless, because he's actually getting contested on the southern pond. That's the second pawn for Ivailo. One thing that we shouldn't underestimate, though, is that John the Fearless has 2 pawns working for him, so right now he possesses a 5 Voyagers lead. But the problem that he's gonna be facing, as I said, is Cav Archer and Mangano is a lot more devastating than Skirmisher defenses. There is a Monastery, but that won't actually change a lot. And Ballistics for John the Fearless, but he doesn't have a Siege Workshop yet. And how is he going to deal with Manganos now? I mean, even if he's one of the best microing players out there, you won't actually out-micro a Mangano with Skirmishers, at least not something, or not sustainably, so to say. No Ballistics gested for the Cav Archers, neither is a Thumbring there for them, and we will have a Fire Ship inside here versus 2 Fire Galleys. Still eco advantage on the side of John the Fearless, who's going for free TCs, but once again, I feel like Ivailo is going for the more aggro play here. Some more ranges coming in. Honestly, if there is no Mangano behind this one, you can actually make a ram if you're Ivailo and start ramming down these buildings. Mangano coming out here, trying to get a shot. There is no Repair Voyager, but gets a big shot. And I did mention that Mangano Cav Archer is way better than just Skirmisher defense. There needs to be a Siege Workshop for John the Fearless, or the alternative is a defensive castle. And we're actually seeing pretty much copy-paste from a previous game now, as you see. I think that's also an auto scout. It very much feels like an auto scout to me, right? Yeah, it seems like an auto scout. I think Viper actually likes to use auto scout as well. Now it's the Goldmine once again being pressured. The difference between the previous game and this game is that I think John the Fearless is moving to stone a little earlier, so he might be able to get a defensive castle up to stop this push. But currently, this game plays out at this stage just like the previous one. John the Fearless could actually take this fight now because he's got 2 fire ships versus fire galleys. North Pond is uncontested, Eastern Pond same as well, and Ivailo is already adding fish traps for himself. Now it's 3 Manganos out, and that Siege Workshop I did mention that was awfully late. Still no Ballistics for Ivailo, even though he could technically afford it, but it's 3 Manganos. And this is copy-paste the previous game. Manganos, it was Knights and Manganos in there, now it's Cav Archer Mangano. And you're not gonna out-micro this, and even the same thing. It's the Siege Workshop being denied, which means there is no counter Manganos in time. Nice micro, by the way, from our blue player. One thing that is different is that there is no Repair Voyage over here for Ivailo, so he's struggling a little bit more to keep those Manganos alive. On this map, a 1TC push is definitely legitimate because you have the support of the fishing eco. So this is a much better map for a 1TC push than Arabia is. Another big Mangano shot over there. It's 75 eco compared to 45 or 55. It's now 3 TCs coming in as well for Ivailo. And as I said, I feel like the difference now is that the push was a little bit more devastating for Ivailo in that one. And there's going to be defensive castle for John the Fearless. So the tricky thing is going to be, what is Ivailo doing with his food? Now it's 3 TCs going for University Ballistics. And he's picking off a couple of Voyagers. Mangano comes in once again. I would think And you're actually trying to open up that wall because you want that mangonel to start rolling in there. Finally, the Sieger comes up, mangonel's coming in here. The eco advantage is crazy here for the Byzantine player, but more importantly, I think the difference is that he's actually going to be able to get that castle up. And if he gets a castle up somewhere around over here, this push is going to be pretty much over. Elite Skirm's now actually taking some good hits over there. Still, Ivailo is actually able to be competitive in terms of eco numbers, I would say, even though he's losing the southern pawn. So right now it's 3 pawns versus 1 for John the Fearless. 1, 2, 3 pawns versus 1. Cav Archer mobility isn't something that can be really used well here, though, by Ivailo, because his opponent has a lot of resources back. I told you that this is a well-defendable base. And the thing is that John the Fearless could think about Imperial Age. We will have a light cav mixed in here, no knights, just light cav by Ivailo. And there is the somewhat ambitious castle, if you ask me. So the thing is that this is seen by Ivailo, and Ivailo could actually move there, and once again, mobility. Don't tell me that once again John is going to mess up the castle. Apparently the Cav Archers actually won't be pushing that way, but this could have been a castle denied easily if those Cav Archers just run that way, right away. Because I don't think that the skirms would have caught up with them, and it's only a couple of villagers constructing, so you had plenty of time on getting that castle up. So with that, there's a mangonel now. And skirmishers once again taking a good fight over here against the mangonel. The thing is that Ivailo is definitely taking worse fights than in the previous game. If you remember the previous game, it was like 75-23 KD, now it's 22-23, so he's definitely taking worse fights. And if John the Fearless already has Imperial Age queued up, I think this push didn't work out for Ivailo. He didn't have repair vultures for the mangonels. He didn't really have a follow-up. That being said, he's not out completely because he's only behind by 15 villagers. But I would think he's gonna be quite a bit behind in terms of Imperial Age. He still needs to be aggressive and start pushing the pawns, for example, with the Cav Archers. That could be something, because now you are forced to make fish traps. And if you're forced to make fish traps, then you can actually pick off a couple of fishing ships over there. It also is worth pointing out that we have a relic collection coming in for Ivailo. He's already on 2. Or, well, he will be on 2 in a moment. Cav Archer's now running in, though, and the skirms are massively mispositioned. Oh my goodness! John the Fearless never actually voted this one in, and that's a disaster for him. And the thing is that at this point, if you're Ivailo, you are more than happy to trade off 16 Cav Archers to potentially 20 villagers. All you need to do is just keep running around and be as annoying as humanly possible. And so far it's not really happening, the skirms will come back, so at the end Ivailo didn't commit to this one. He doesn't want to lose his army, but honestly it turns out better for John the Fearless. He has like 4 or 5 Cav Archers, although there is the light cav now coming in, and once again the skirmishers could be mispositioned. John the Fearless will be in Imperial Age, but he doesn't have a good army, right? That's the problem. He's full skirmishers, he's trying to mix in some arbalests, but once again, look at this. Ivailo moving in, idling villagers, he still is missing Thumb Ring. But Ballistics Cav Archers will still be able to do some damage here, and they will just get through that wall. And Light Cav, with +2 defense, they will withstand quite a lot of punishment from arrow fire. And now the Cav Archers are in once again. I think they are in. I think they are in. And they are in indeed. And that's a hill advantage as well for them. If there was Thumb Ring for Ivailo, he would actually be massacring those villagers right now. He's still picking off his 12 villagers killed to 0. And the thing is, as I said, that if you're John the Fearless, he's got a couple of crossbows on the field. We're talking about 15 crossbows that will be armed with no siege support. So you see that we are gonna have Imperial Age coming in as well for Ivailo. And there's just not enough arbalests right now. In fact, those are not even arbs right at this very moment. A castle coming in here could be important because it controls this gold mine, and this would be extremely hard to kill. Indeed, there is a big floating here for Ivailo, but that is because he wants to click into Imperial, but he didn't have the buildings, I believe, or at least he wanted to get the castle up. And do you know what unit you could actually go for if it's full arbalest and skirmisher play from your opponent? Well, either Elite Skirm yourself, or as he's trying to come back here once again with the Cav Archers. He's using the mobility of the Cav Archers as well, and it's all about distracting John the Fearless, forcing him to send the Arbalests back, and that's why Cav Archers are so good on this map. John the Fearless is beating his opponent to Imperial by 4 minutes. 4 minutes advantage to Imperial should be GG, because you will have better units, you can start trapping down buildings, but you can't actually use that imp advantage, because you are forced to chase down Cav Archers that are raiding your eco. So, the alternative is that you could actually start thinking about Tarkins, believe it or not. Tarkins would be a very good unit here for Revialo. I don't think that's the only unit that he can go for, but Tarkins would be very funny. Well, not really funny, but reasonable to think about. In this case, light... Oh, look at this. Once again, Cav Archers being split. This is not a good fight for Ivailo, but it is probably as good as it gets, to be honest. He's gonna get heal advantage with the CA. Not a great fight, but it's going to weaken the opponent's army. And if you look at this, Cav Archers once again breaking in on the south. Mobility seems like it's actually capable of tearing apart the Byzantine player. Elite Skirm's falling back over here to clean this up, which means it's gonna happen. Not a lot of Arbalests here, so the Light Cavs will actually take a good engagement, and now the Cav Archers are in. Cav Archers are in, and Imperial Age is almost in for Ivailo as well. So, despite the fact that he was actually beaten to Imperial by 4 minutes, John the Fearless wasn't able to do anything, basically. And there's Bracer and Hussar, so he's planning for a long game, coming in with some stables on the south. And really, these raids have been doing the work here. Apparently, we're gonna have scale botting as well for John the Fearless, but if it's a Hussar war, that's something that Huns win fairly easily. In fact, Ivailo actually cancels Bracer and goes for plate botting first. So he's so confident in his Hussar play that he's actually not even going to bother upgrading those skirmishers right now. Still, I feel like John the Fearless has a bit of an advantage over here just because of the map position, but this is definitely an open game right now. Skirmishers, once again, they are missing defense upgrades, attack upgrades, they're missing everything from Imperial Age. Chemistry just now coming in, and now it's Bracer. Light Cav once again could jump on top of the skirms though, and remember that it could be Hussar skirm, honestly, for Ivailo, because his opponent doesn't have a lot of Arbalest. There's 9 Arbalests on the field, so Elite Skirm Hussar will actually do quite a lot of damage over here, and it looks like, look at this move once again. He's actually sending the Hussar to clean up the Voyagers on this castle. Small details, but they do matter, even though this was a bad fight for Ivaio at the end. But delaying such a castle is important. He already has Cav Archers messed up on the north, making a transport ship on his own pond to get the relic from that lake. He's sitting on 2 relics right now. And he could definitely afford heavy cavalry, but he's playing for a long game here. He doesn't want to spend his units on heavy cav, probably because he knows that it will be halberdiers anyways from his opponent, so there is no point going for heavy cav. And look at this, once again, Cav Archers will go and hit this wood line. The amount of multitasking that Ivailo is doing is absolutely crazy, and you can see how much stretched out John the Fearless is. 2 hours, 20 minutes of villager idle time. His opponent is just everywhere. And the thing is, as I said, that you can really use the mobility advantage of Huns on this map extremely well against Byzantines. So, once again, Hussars taking down some skirmishers over here. Excuse me, I had to drink because my voice is falling apart right now. I need to be a little bit more careful with the intensity of my casting, because it looks like 4 straight days of 10-hour casting is going to kill my voice here, and there is still a grand finals to go. So, with that, Ivaio is now teching into Cav Archer. His opponent is coming in with camos. The thing is that Huns can go for camos here, or Huns can go for halberdiers if they want to, or heavy Cav Archer works just as fine. I think Numbering is still missing though for Ivailo, which is something that he has to be careful about. But Elite Skirm, Hussar, Cav Archer, once again the timing is crazy. on Ivailo. And look at this multitasking. Oh, that's his Vultures dying, but that's also his Cav Archers dying. So I was trying to showcase his multitasking, but it ends up just him losing armies. Doesn't really matter for him, I believe, because right now he's just focusing on saving his base in the middle. One trap gets sniped down. The Camos will not have Blast Furnace and not even Bloodlines, because actually they do have... Yeah, they do have Blast Furnace. I confused the civs. They do not have Bloodlines, but they do have Blast Furnace. Working for them. Or do they have Blast Furnace? I think Byzantines don't have Blast Furnace, right? They used to have it, I think, but they lost it at some time. We'll have to check. Now that's a lot of camos, and those are cheap camos versus cheap Cav Archers, but the resource retention on the Cav Archers is crazy. So you can't keep spamming camos into Cav Archers, that's the thing. And since there is not a lot of skirmishers supporting, in fact there is only 18 skirms on the field, most of them just arriving to the front line, the camos had basically no skirmisher support to use. This still seems like an open game, and I would dare to say that John the Fearless might even have a bit of an advantage. And now chat says it's no Blast Furnace or Byzantines. And indeed, I think the biggest thing here for John the Fearless is that he's got Byzantine castles in key positions of the map. 7,000 HP is extremely hard to fight against. That being said, Huns will have more accuracy on their traps, so they have an advantage in trap wars. So, Light Cavs once again looping around. We'll try to get some raiding damage done in here. This game is still anyone's game, I believe, because if you look at the army numbers and army quality, it's better. Hussar Cav Archers is extremely good unit composition here, and you see that the Camos had to move to the south. They were chasing the Light Cav, but then Light Cav show up on north, dive in and snipe the skirmishers, snipe the trap as well, and two traps shelling the castle over here. And that castle is actually close to going down. The Vultures can't really access the castle because there were Hussars around. And if that castle goes down, it's one step toward victory for Ivaio over here. He's also getting Hussars into the opponent's eco as well. He seems to be just everywhere, and he's spamming Hussars from these stables. These are actually Hunnic stables, so they even work faster. And like, one of the things that can finish off these post-Imperial scenarios, and I always value when players try to do this, is just getting raids in. Because this fight in the middle is kind of a stalemate right now, and it could go either way. But one thing that could actually turn the tide of the battle in the favor of Ivaio is being able to raid the opponent's eco, and you see that his opponent's eco is collapsing here quite badly. He has 36 idols right now, and villagers are dying left and right. Camo's diving in to snipe the trap, but once again that's gonna be a little bit inefficient, and you can just garrison the Cav Archers into the castle to keep them alive. And we're actually going to have another stable coming in here. Castle is going to be made by John the Fearless to deny the raids, but this could be stopped by Ivaio. You can see that Ivaio is busy microing his Cav Archers because didn't notice this castle going up. He could have stopped this castle as well. 119 villagers only now for John the Fearless. And he just keeps killing villagers, especially the food eco is weak for John the Fearless. And no food eco, no skirmishers. 75 on food for Ivaio. Once again, the post-Imperial play from our red player is extremely good. This castle for him actually goes up, which is extremely important for John the Fearless. This could have been a castle denied as well, but it's 58 army against 19, and once again I feel like it is so crazy that this could be a Viper versus Hera set, and Ivaio is still one tier above his opponent. Like, really, this is so far extremely dominant from our red player. And the thing is that, as I said, he's still undefeated in the entire tournament. That would be a new level of awesome if Ivaio just went and won all games in a tournament without losing a single one of them. And he's actually on course towards that, to be honest. Now a couple of Tarkans being mixed in. They resist arrow fire quite well, so they're actually a nice unit to add for some raiding. And wherever I look, I see Ivaio raiding. There's actually now even army numbers, but mobility once again on the side of Huns, and you see that villagers here were killed, villagers here were attacked, here as well, and the map control starts to become in the favor of Ivaio, who's already preparing for next step, siege rams. So, with that, Camos will actually clean this one up. And it looks like John is actually able to stabilize his eco, but it's 164 population against 191, and there isn't really a good answer to a flood of siege rams, potentially. They can just start knocking down buildings over here. Why are you so sure that Ivayo is Viper? Haven't seen any micro. Viper is not all about micro. Viper is about extremely good game plan, top-notch unit control, innovative ideas, and the combination of everything that makes a player good. That's basically it. So, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. Innovative game plan, check. Very, very nice unit control, check. Clean gameplay, check. Yeah, like, Viper is not all about, I don't know, out-microing a Mangonel with one crossbowman. Like, in fact, I would dare to say that Viper actually benefits from realizing that over-microing things is not a good thing. The best micro is not necessarily the best player. That being said, there is apparently no gold left for Ivayo, but he's got 4 relics, and that's something that we should actually consider. And Ivayo is going for the 5th relic here as well. 5 relics is still a reasonable amount of gold income, but really the only thing that actually favors John the Fearless here right now is that he's technically Byzantine, so he can spam trash all day. So John the Fearless now taking over in terms of military numbers. At this stage of the game, so post-Imperial, I am starting to like Byzantines more and more because it's going to turn into a trash war. But it's already impressive that Ivayo was able to hold out until this long. After pretty much going for Castle Age all-in, because he went for Castle Age all-in, now it's going to be most of the Cav archers dying over here. Still, however, there is Light Cavan. One thing that we haven't seen from John the Fearless is actually impacting his opponent's eco. So there is a trap that's shelling this castle. There is siege rams marching this way. And remember that in the right side there are things happening. Villagers going down left and right, and the trash spam requires a lot of resources as well. That's something that you should keep in mind. That, yeah, I mean, John the Fearless can spam trash all day with Byzantines, but he needs resources for that, and he apparently is very, very focused on his units in the middle, because he's not noticing that he's losing villagers over here. He's down to 97, losing the castle over here on the north, which would secure a bit of a gold, by the way, for Ivayo. And even this gold mine, this castle, if it goes down, it secures this gold mine for Ivayo, or at least allows him to go out to the villagers and take it. Once again, light cav raid coming in over there, and John is down to 98 villagers. His population is still looking good because his army numbers are amazing, but at this pace he will just get raided to death. He's got 22 only on wood, and you can't sustain spamming skirms forever if you don't actually have the resource income for it. It's still a big blob of scary camels, that's for sure. But now I think we're actually getting to the stage of Ivayo starting to raid his way into this game. I still think that John the Fearless has a lead in this one, but you gotta be careful because Ivayo is gonna be sitting on 5 relics soon, I believe. He's bringing in a relic all the way home, so he's gonna be sitting on 5 relics, and the thing is that now John the Fearless is also starting to run out of gold, and when John runs out of gold, he's gonna have to be careful with his camels. Ivayo needs to run into the castle here, jumps inside the castle indeed. Still a bigger army for John the Fearless, and now there is Cav Rams helping out with the push, and it looks like now John the Fearless will actually dive in, but this is dangerous because the Cav Archers can keep running away, and if this push doesn't work out for John the Fearless, he's gonna be in trouble, because he will lose the majority of his camels over here. Skirmishers also diving past it. There is still 27 camels on the field. This is the fight for the game. Skirmishers diving in to pick off the Cav Archers. And this castle also gets denied. I think John the Fearless might have this one. But the thing is that Ivayo might not give up on this easily, because he knows that he's also denying gold from his opponent. And he's just sitting on 5 relics. And 5 relics is 5 relics. You see that he's still able to add quite a lot of Cav Archers. And as I said, what happens if the camels run out for John the Fearless? He's still got a bit of a gold to work with. And John the Fearless should be winning this game. It's a bit of a civ advantage at this point for Byzantines, but I feel like Ivayo had the chance to win this game before. He just didn't commit enough, or didn't commit well enough to the Castle Age push. That being said, cheap honey Cav Archers with 5 relics. It's not completely over until it's over. as the saying goes. By the way, I would like to point out how important this castle is for protecting against the raids, and this could have been a castle that Ivaio stops. Still, at the end of the day, look at those numbers. 23 Cav Archers, and really relic collection is going to be a big thing over here for Ivailo. 5 relics, and with the cheap honey Cav Archers, you can actually sustain a reasonable production, and I feel like if Ivailo win this could be a 4-0, because the thing is that by no measurable should he beat Byzantines in a post-Imperial scenario, when Byzantines have a lot more map control as well. He's going to take the hill. Sacrificing the scouts isn't really a big deal right now, and look at this, he's dying that stone mine as well. 89 villagers only for Fearless, 140 population. Oh my goodness. I told you that if this push doesn't work out for John, he's probably going to lose the game, because he will not have enough resource to replenish his camels. He's at 27 camels still, but as long as there is the light cav meat shield in front and cav archers supporting, that was a disaster fight for Ivailo. He's gonna be able to start killing stuff, and you also see that John the Fearless is struggling for wood. He's struggling for wood, 81, 82, and like, there was a question before about how do you know that this is Viper, and we haven't seen any flashy micro, because this is exactly what Viper is all about. It's not just the flashy micro, it's about the combination of extremely good execution, very, very good preparation, game plan, innovative strategies, and map awareness. Really, I think, regardless of who wins tournaments, I think Viper is probably the most good or the best all-around player out there. There will be players that will out-micro Viper. There will be players that might be even having a slightly better macro than Viper. But when you put together everything, preparation, execution, strategies, map awareness, macro, micro, Viper is easily, well, not necessarily easily, but easily a top 3, but potentially the best player in the world. Because one thing that distinguishes him from many players, and to compare to players like Leary, Hera, and Yo, is that Viper actually is also innovative with strategies. Whereas for Hera and Leary, they play usually the standard things, and Yo sometimes brings in some new strategies, but he's not as innovative as Viper. So really, Viper is a combination, like a very, very well-balanced combination of everything. And I think many players, or many viewers, remember Viper as the player that out-micros everything. I feel like Viper also shifted focus and realized that his best shot is not necessarily by out-microing everything. It's about having a very, very healthy combination of micro, macro, map awareness. And now, like, there is some small attempts to raid with Byzantine Light Cav, but Byzantine Light Cav is just far inferior to Han Hussars, and wherever I look, there is Ivailo. Look at this. Cav Archers killing villagers here. Han's Light Cav pushing up this one. Finally, John the Fearless will clean this corner, but he's now starving for wood. He's at 90 villagers, and the trash spam requires a lot of villagers because you are actually, like, putting out a lot of units that you need. Once again, holes on the walls, and Light Cav will run in. Look at this food eco, by the way, for John the Fearless. I would love to see Ivaio, by the way, sending 2 Cav Archers here. He could actually take down 10 fishing ships with that, and that would be a massive blow to the eco of John the Fearless. And I think now he's actually gonna go for that. He could definitely go for it if he sees that dock. He sees that dock. Why is he not sending stuff over there? He could just send Cav Archers to clean up that thing. He's also distracting his opponent on the south. Army value is still close, but the quality of the army is crazy for Ivailo. He can't afford to lose the Cav Archers, but if you look at this, he's still sitting on 5 relics, and in fact, when he gets this dock up, he can actually get that relic for himself. Could be 6 relics over here, which is an insane gold income, and once again, wherever I look, there is just Ivailo dominating. He even has some villagers over here mining that bit of a gold. And indeed, it's a transport ship for now, but it could turn into fire ships as well. 170 population, 190, but I think Ivailo now senses the blood in the water and dives in with the Light Cav to pick off the skirms. Will be unsuccessful for now, but still raids left, raids right. It is just so hard for John the Fearless, to deal with this. Really, wherever he's looking, there is red on the map. Just look at these little red dots that are awesome raiding forces, forward buildings, and like he can't even afford Halberdier right now. So it is 73 army against 76, a castle in a key position by Ivailo, and I would like to point out something as well over here. If this is indeed Viper versus Hera, Viper also has a top-notch late game that partially comes from his deathmatch experience. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he won Deathmatch World Cup 3, I believe. I think it was against True. And in the meanwhile, Hera has a lot of post-Imperial experience, but we're actually getting to the stage where it's going to be more than just post-Imperial, and it actually starts to become the resource control game, where you actually start thinking about, okay, how many forests does my opponent have, how many forests does do I have? And that is where that match experience also comes in really clutch. Both of these players are extremely good late game players, but I feel like Ivailo is just doing more to finish off the opponent than John is able to. Look at this. He actually pulled all the units, all the camos in the middle, sent in the light cav on the south. I think when John looks at this screen, I think he's gonna tap out. He's at 70 villagers. This game is over. And if it continues like this, once again, Ivailo could actually go undefeated in this set. Because this was a game where John the Fearless was leading by 40 villagers and he was Imperial 4 minutes before his opponent. But he still lost it. And it's not John the Fearless playing bad, it's about Ivailo being on a completely different level. Really, the only player I have seen being this dominant, ever, basically, was the Viper in his prime, before the emergence of Hera, before Leary became a consistent player, before he 0-4-0'd Viper. But look at this, 69 villagers, as John the Fearless is just constantly dropping in population. He's getting torn apart by the mobility of the Huns here. And once again, he's trying to stretch out the defense of the Halberdier Skirm here. I just feel like there's no way back for John the Fearless, because at this rate, his eco is going to collapse. And as I said, if Ivailo had one Cav Archer here, this would be -7 fishing ships. That's also something that we should add. Is it possible to convert fishing traps with monks? I have no idea, but it makes no sense to do that, to be honest. So, now Ram's knocking down the TC over here. This is an important place because this is a stone mine. And stone at this stage is like a backup gold. You actually think about starting to sell stone so that you are able to afford gold units. By the way, Ivailo secured this little gold mine for himself, and at this stage, this is like still 500 gold. And I think the biggest deal is, look at this bank for Ivailo. He could actually do this for, I don't know, 5 hours if he wants to. He still has 1,000 gold. He could actually go Paladin if he wants to. It's 6 relics. And 6 relics will be an insane gold income. Look at that trickle. And I did mention that the Cav Archers have an insane resource retention. So you're barely using gold units and you have a great gold income. Other side, John the Fearless, he's losing his gold units in the form of camels, and he doesn't have a good gold income. So I feel like if you just look at these resources, it's over. Funnily enough, John the Fearless is still leading in score. I feel like the only reason why John hasn't tapped out is because he still thinks that he's leading, but reality is that this game is so over. And the reason why is because if Ivailo wants to, he can just sit back and chill and wait until his opponent runs out of every bit of resource. Like, Ivailo will still have 6 relics against just 1. By the way, John never actually picked up that second relic. And, like, the mobility of the Cav Archers, what is it? Atheism. That feels like a flex. That feels like a so... If anyone has any doubt about that, that's atheism. Atheism researched by a Honic player. In case you don't know what that is, that's probably the least useful... Oh, it actually was buffed. It actually was buffed. I didn't know that. So it used to be the least useful upgrade that you could get, because what it did was add 100 years of Relic Victory and Wonder Victory, but no one plays Relic and Wonder Victory, so that didn't help. But now, after a buff, enemy relics also generate 50% less resources. So this would be very, very useful for John, but I guess the idea for Ivailo is that he doesn't know how many relics his opponent has, but he's grabbing every bit of advantage that he can. Now, there is less gold income for John from his relic, 50% less than he could get. It's still a very, very small gold income, so it doesn't really matter, but it's now gonna be even smaller. 78 villagers, and as I said, I don't know how these fishing ships are still alive. They should be dead long time ago. Wonder? What? There is no wonder. I hope there is no wonder. Like, so atheism actually makes some sense, but reality is that it honestly feels a bit more like a flex. Still, you have to be careful with your cav archers in this one. And there was not really a lot of raids from Ivaio recently. It's really funny that John still has the score lead. Probably because of the KD. That's the only thing that actually goes for him right now. But, I mean, as I said, Ivailo can do this the whole day. There is not going to be a trap war win for John the Fearless because Hunnic traps are more accurate. And, really, Ivailo is still sitting on 1,000 gold soon, and his army is just... He's just so good at keeping those resources there. And he's gonna clean up the halberdiers, and now the light cav will jump on top of the skirmishers. And now more light cav coming in. This game has been over some time ago. It's just John the Fearless is kept in the game by the belief that he's actually at least competitive. I don't think that he thinks that he's leading, because that score is very, very misleading. But I think he at least thinks that he's competitive. Did John lose his relic? Good question. He had a relic. But what happened to it? I didn't see any monastery being trapped down. It would be quite uncharacteristic. Did he accidentally ungarrison it or what? Or it might be... I don't know if it's a capture age bug or so. I have to check. The thing is that I wouldn't be surprised if it was just a capture age bug, because atheism was resurged. And I really wonder if atheism actually just, you know, messes things up in capture age. I think there was a monastery near the pond. This is, I think, the original monastery that had the relic. And it's not there. Yeah, maybe atheism is buggy and they deleted the relic. We don't know, because no one actually goes for atheism. I've been casting for 2 years, and I've never seen atheism being reserved. Oh, there's the monastery. But how did the relic even get there? How did the relic even get there? Why was it this in a monastery here instead of here? That makes zero sense. Doesn't matter, because the GG is scored, and Ivailo behind in score the whole time, but holy smokes, still undefeated in this one. Alright, the thing is that this series has already been going on for 2 hours or so, and we are just in game number 2, so I will, if you excuse me, I will actually run to the bathroom. It's just half a second until we get the third recorded game, and then we'll continue going. And we will still have the grand finals for today, and potentially 5 more games from this one. It's going to be the second home map of John the Fearless coming in. By the way, I just want to show something before I actually run to the bathroom. This one. I think if anyone asks what is the difference between the 2 players here, this. 6,000 extra gold compared to 600 from the relics. That is an insane gold income that Ivailo was able to grab. Alright, it looks like we don't have the third recorded game up just yet, so this brings us to the draft screen. Berbers are gone for Ivaio, so are Huns. We have Byzantines gone for John the Fearless alongside Mayans. And Ivaio still has Quarry, Hideout, Slopes as his home maps. John the Fearless lost Cross, so he can decide if he wants to go Cup or Bay. Game number 4 will be preset, and it is going to be Bypass. So we are just waiting for the next game to come in. It's hard to say what John the Fearless should do, to be honest, because he isn't playing bad. It's his opponent being much better than him in these first 2 games. So really, the tricky thing is that it's hard to say what he should do because he's doing the right things. It's just they are not working because the opponent is actually doing the right things as well, just better. So really, this is probably a heartbreaking defeat here for John the Fearless. Let's take a look. Still no game. So it's either Cup or Bay. Now, I think that if you are John the Fearless, you will actually try to go for Cup. Because if you remember the previous, I think it was the previous round, or no, it was the round before, so round of 16s, John the Fearless actually played against Leloy on Cup in a decider game, and that was the one he won. I assume that's where Britons are going to be utilized, if there is any, but there is no Britons. In every game that John the Fearless has played on Cup, he used Britons, but Ivailo took Britons away from him. In fact, he also doesn't have Celts, so what is John the Fearless gonna go for on a map like Cup? I don't know, maybe Teutons? Could be the case. I think Slopes likely will be Indians. No, Teutons is for Hideout. Britons will be for Quarry, I believe for Ivailo. Celts will be for Cup. Turks will be for Bypass, most likely. So I like the draft of Ivailo a lot better, but we will see what John the Fearless can do against Ivailo in game number 3. We'll jump in there. So here it is. We will switch to Capture Age, and off we go. So, hello, game, Capture Age, something. Capture Age is a little bit slow waking up, but fear not, it's eventually gonna wake up. Wake up, man. Wake up. Alright, this might actually... Okay, I was just about to say I will restart Capture Age then, but apparently that is not going to be needed. So, Ivailo will be playing Mongols on the left side in red. Right side is going to be a mild counter, so to say, Italians for John the Fearless in blue. The map is Bay, the second home map of John the Fearless. And the thing is that in early to mid game, until post-Imperial, Italians is sort of a counter to Mongols. The question is, when are we going to see Genoese crossbows, or what the Mongol player is actually going to do? Because if you let the Mongol player boom up to Mangudai and Onagers, it's going to be insanely hard to stop it. Genoese crossbows has to be part of the equation, that's for sure. So, Genoese crossbows bombard cannon could be something, but you also need to do hussars. Vino Malay here, I just think that Malay will be used elsewhere. There is no particular reason. Malay is a good civilization. You only need mobility in late Imperial, and oh my goodness, Ivaio is going in for a kill. He's actually going in for a kill, laming in the board from the opponent, and there was a game in the previous rounds that we have seen, I think it was Ivaio as well. I think it was Ivaio in the final game of the previous round, where he did the exact same thing. Lame on this map, and why do you lame on this map? Because it's hard to push in the deer. It's not impossible, but it takes quite a lot of time. You can't push in 4 deer. If you lame on Arabia, your opponent can push in deer to compensate. Here it's much harder. And if you impact the opponent's food eco like that, that means that he's going to be delayed into feudal age. Being delayed into feudal age will actually mean that he's not gonna be able to fight on the water that well. Now, I think that Ivaio still needs to bring in that board because otherwise John will just counter-lame it. And John reacted quite late to this one. Here comes the first board for Ivaio, but I think he needs that second one very, very soon. This one is technically safe. So, with that, I think... Oh, that's a little bit sloppy though from Ivailo. Doesn't want to get his Voyager picked off. He will need to wall around that Voyager. A Voyager plus weak scout is still alright. John the Fearless sees the weaker scout, so he knows he got lamed. The question is if he will actually be able to counter lame, and it doesn't seem like it. Ivailo knows about that board on the front, and I guess he knows about his board at the back as well, even though it's invisible right now. So the thing is, as this will limit John the Fearless's chances of counter-laming the opponent, is that Malay is an okay civ for this map. The idea is that Malay will be better on bypass, potentially hideout or so, whereas Mongols is an insanely strong civ here. This is, by the way, Mongols with extra hunt. I just want to point that one out. This is not just simple Mongols. This is Mongols with extra hunt, which means that this is a free boars Mongol player. He will soon click up to Feudal Age, beat his opponent to Feudal by a massive margin, potentially kill the Fishing Eco thanks to that, and then no Fishing Eco for our blue player. The Mongol player is going to have Fishing Eco as well. This looks extremely heavily in the favor of Ivailo. You see that he's going to go for a Feudal Age already. I think he could have gone for Feudal even faster, but he's not going to go for a super aggressive play. I think the reason why is because, as you see, he's going to have same Feudal Age time as his opponent, but what's going to happen is that he's going to push on land and vote at the same time, because if you have the even Feudal Age times in this situation, that means that Ivailo will be able to afford a land aggression. So, with that, we're going to have Ivailo adding Voyagers to go a little bit low on Wood. He didn't actually send Voyagers to Stragglers, and he's even going to send out Voyagers to the Hunt. Oh my goodness. So, it looks like John the Fearless was able to compensate a little bit with the deer that he pushed in. That's probably the reason why he actually has an okay Feudal Age time still. 4 fishing ships for Ivailo. He's actually distributing them nicely across the ponds, whereas John the Fearless is sitting on 3 fishing ships. Feudal Age times will be similar, but you see that Ivaio's food income is going to be crazy good. And that means that he could beat his opponent to Castle Age really, really well. And do you know what could follow up? What could follow up is potentially, once again, Knights and Siege Workshop. Your opponent's castle or stone is on the front. And remember this, game number 1, Ivailo goes Knights and Siege. Wins because he denies the castle. Game number 2, the game plan is the same thing. It was Cav Archers, Mangonels. It wasn't possible to deny the castle because there were safe resources for Ivailo, or for John the Fearless. So he was able to actually get villagers on stone and drop the castle. Game number 3, stone always spawns at the front on bay, which means, as we have Ivailo diving in, delaying the barracks a tiny bit, and so we'll have Archer Range coming in here for John the Fearless. Archer Range will most likely come in for Ivailo as well. So you could definitely, as we have a bit of a harassment coming in here by John the Fearless on the fishing ships, so you could definitely think about, once again, going for this early Castle Age, Knights, and potentially even Camels type of a push with Mongols and Mangonels, because that seemed to work really well for Ivailo so far. Now the Scout is a little bit weaker. Scout will try to pick off a Voyager though, and that's a nice find for John the Fearless. Voyager will actually have to be careful here not to get picked off. But it looks like both players are looking for the opponent's repair Voyager, and Ivailo might actually find it, but there is the Fire Galley doing damage, so once again you won't be able to pick off the repair Voyager. There is the range coming in. Ivailo, by the way, has a pretty bad map. Very open front, gold and stone on the front. This stone is also very, very far away. So this map is actually pretty awful for Ivailo, whereas for John the Fearless it's way better. The gold is alright, even though it's open, but he's doing the right walls. But there is a secondary gold at the back, berries at the back as well. Fire Galley versus Fire Galley over here for the time being, as we have the scouts exchanging shots. And this is the first time where I feel like John the Fearless is doing better things than Ivailo. And this is his home map, so he has to do the good things, otherwise he's gonna be in big trouble. The scout will find the villagers on the hunt, but won't be able to kill any, and by the time any units would arrive here, you would just be able to finish off the deer here and go home. And one thing that I would like to add is look at the food count. Look at the food count for Ivailo, and look at the food count for John the Fearless. As I said, this is a greedier play for Ivailo, but overall he's playing much greedier than his opponent. So it is apparently going to be Repair Voyager being idle here. You still want to bring that Fire Galley back home. Now you're going to have to idle your fishing ships a little bit. And John the Fearless is slowly winning water, even though there is a third Fire Galley coming in right now. So that's indeed just a slow victory. Archers marching forward. And the villagers haven't gone back home yet. This could be problematic for Ivailo. He's got the archers here. But I don't like the fact that these archers will actually find him. Although, at least, they will find the mill. But I think at least Ivailo will know that these archers are here. Nope, he doesn't see them. But John the Fearless sees the Ibex. He thinks that the opponent is going to go over here on the other patch of Ibexes because this is safer. But now he doesn't see it. So there's two options. The villagers are here, or the villagers gone back home. And now there is archers as well for Ivailo, who is sending them forward as well. Fire Galleys winning the water for John the Fearless, but both players losing a lot of fishing eco, and honestly, the pond is almost out of fish, so, well, there is still about 600 food in there. But it is definitely not as important to control the pond now as it used to be 5 minutes ago. And as I said, if you look at the resources, Ivailo is actually looking really good going into Castle Age in a moment. The archers moving forward might intercept a couple from the opponent. Both players have fletching. And mid, there had to be some epic demo. I don't think there was any. I don't think there was any, or at least we kind of missed out on that. We could actually go back in time, but I don't think there was any big demos. A little bit sloppy from Ivailo. I think he could have gone for 1 or 2 skirms before as a defense. He didn't expect archers counterattacking him and jukes the arrows. I mean, look at this unit control. Someone was complaining that there was no flashy micro from Viper. That was a flashy micro. He juked the final volley of arrows, and that way he actually saved that Voyager. And 1 skirm is going to clean this one up. His archers going back home for the time being. Archers once again being sent forward. And Ivailo is actually still taking hunt here. It's Mongo's hunt now. Luckily for John the Fearless, he's Italian, so he can actually click up for the next stage cheaper. So, with that, we're gonna have the water control in the hands of John the Fearless. Basically, the reason why he's able to catch up a little bit in terms of, oh, that was so unlucky for John. He sees the mill, but he probably had patrol on those archers. And because you have patrol, you actually had the archers attacking the mill. And if they attack the mill, then there is an alert sound coming in for Ivailo, and he realized there is archers over there. Look at this. I mean, that's very unlucky for Ivailo, but also nice reactions for Ivailo over there. And 2 T3 TCs. Once again, super greedy play here from our red player. This is Omega greedy that he's doing. And I feel like if John the Fearless wants to win, he can't allow such a boom from happening. He needs to go forward Siege Workshop and start pushing this one and punishing his opponent for booming. Because one thing that he wasn't able to do so far in this entire set is punish Ivailo's eco. Ivailo's eco was never under real pressure, basically ever. In the first game, not at all. Second game, there were some small raids, but they were never really threatened that much, especially early to mid-game. And considering that John doesn't really have a lot of archers, I can see Ivailo even moving out to take the hunt from here on the far left. And that would be nice. Also, I forgot about the fact that there is actually a gold mine here for Ivailo. I haven't seen this for whatever reason. And that actually makes this map a lot better, to be honest. I thought he only has a gold here on the front. I like the decision, by the way, from Ivailo for taking the front gold, because this is going to be an absolutely amazing emergency gold if you get your front pushed. And he's already adding villagers to stone, so it's not going to be full boom into Mangadai. I would assume that what he wants to do is already add villagers to stone, because you want the castle here as soon as possible to prevent the potential Mangonel push. It looks like we're gonna have 3 TCs, so John the Fearless believes in his ability to boom as good as Ivayo does, and end up with Genoese crossbows beating Mangadai. But this is still going to be tricky. I don't know if you really want to go into a boom war versus Mongols. That feels off to me. There is a 3 villagers lead right now for John the Fearless, grabbing wheelbarrow right now. His opponent does have horse color though, something that he does not possess. That 3 villagers lead, by the way, purely comes from the fishing ships. And now it's already 3 TCs up for Ivailo, who has a lot of TC idle time, by the way. Actually goes for crossbows. So he's gonna invest a little bit into his army as well, instead of just booming on 3 TCs. But obviously doesn't really have the food eco right now to keep all 3 TCs working, which raises the question of whether or not he needed this TC over here. Because I think you need the TC on the stone if you want to start mining stone, but you could have delayed this TC a little bit. It's not really a big deal, but there is the forward siege workshop coming in for John the Fearless. I like this balance. It's a 3 TC boom, but behind that, or in front of that, there is also a siege push. So it's a bit more aggressive, but you still won't fall behind in eco that much. This will force the defensive siege workshop from Ivailo as well, who is just going to finish with University. But Ivailo has successfully picked off 3, maybe even 4 crossbows here in the middle. Indeed, that's a nice find. Monk actually gets picked off as Ivailo was trying to bring in the relic for himself. 300 stone in the bank right now and steadily increasing, which means that there will be a defensive cast in the foreseeable future. In fact, because these crossbows were picked off, the forward siege workshop was cancelled, and these crossbows can break in. There is always households or blacksmith university. It's not just a single layer of polycite, so the crossbows can break in, and now there is crossbows in here for Ivailo, and there is a weak spot on the wall that he could attack, potentially contest this stone. And as I said, it's 12 stone now for Ivailo. That castle is getting closer and closer. 3 villagers lead for John the Fearless isn't something super enormous right now. Both players just grabbing ballistics for themselves. On this map, if this map goes into a post-Imperial scenario, then it is definitely reasonable to start thinking about relics. So I like the decision from Ivailo, or thinking about, okay, I want to pick up relics, because this map has the tendency to last until Imperial Age, or maybe even longer. Big fight coming up here in the middle, +1 defense for both players. There is ballistics already in for Ivailo, which is just finishing for John the Fearless, so it wasn't really an amazing fight for him. A couple of skirms also helping out here, but no castle age upgrades on those. So at the end, it is 13 crossbows against 7. Let's see what Ivailo can do. Once again, someone was saying there is no flashy micro. Here is your micro for a potential Viper. All those jukes and zigzags. And at the end, our blue player is going to win this fight. But the question is, win with what? And more importantly, does it matter when a castle is going to come in a moment? Because a castle is going to come in a moment, I believe. Siege Workshop comes in right now for Ivailo, because he wants to make sure that those crossbows can do more damage than what they're supposed to. This could be an opportunity for John to come forward with a Siege Workshop, but more importantly, John once again is going to beat his opponent into Imperial. You see these bars filling up, so he is actually getting close to clicking into Imperial, whereas Ivailo isn't. So this is definitely the best chance for John right now. His eco is actually comparable to his opponent's, and he's gonna beat his opponent to Imp very badly. All he needs is a forward castle for Trebs. He could also play Arbalest Bombard Cannon, but I think he needs to Imp this one. Goes for a Siege Workshop, which is his second building. And he will actually think about Imperial Age. The first castle comes up in an interesting position for Ivailo. He wants to increase his map control a little bit. It's a tiny bit ambitious that he's only building this with 2 Voyagers. Mangano pops out right now, lands a hit, and catches the edge of that group. Imperial Age on the way for John the Fearless. Ivailo is nowhere close to imping though. This could be the first game that John the Fearless wins here. Because as things stand, I feel like So far, Ivailo is unbeaten in the tournament, but this is looking extremely rough for him. He's still very, very far away from Imperial, nowhere close to his ideal unit composition, whereas his opponent is just going to go Arbalest and Bombard Cannon, and I don't see Ivailo stopping that. Mangano once again getting juked, as that's going to be a big Mangano hit coming in. A second Mangano on the way as well. Castle being slowly built here as Ivailo is going for the second relic. Voyager count is still that even. Grease Cross was getting cleaned up by Johnny. But at the end of the day, as I said, Ivailo is going to be like 2 minutes behind Nimp. If Ivailo wins this one as well, this is going to be a 4-0. Because right now, John has an insane lead. He needs to capitalize on this one right, but all he needs to do is make sure he doesn't lose his crossbows. He gets Arbalest and Bombard Cannon, and he can start taking down castles. All you need to do then is take down castles, because you will just be able to limit the opponent's Mangudai production. With that now, you don't want to lose your crossbows here though, and nice reaction over there from John the Fearless, running away. And there is Imperial Age coming in. That's a 3 minutes deficit. That's an insanely big deficit in Imperial Age. And now it's gonna be Arbalest and Bombard Cannon. Looking at John the Fearless's resources, they're looking really good. Bracer, Chemistry, indeed, and now Arbalest is a priority. So, Arbalest on the way as well. And I don't know how Ivailo is technically supposed to hold this one. I don't think that he's got a shot. If you are John the Fearless, you will castle drop this one as well. Bombard Cannons will soon be coming in. For now, it's Arbalest, but you slowly start mixing in Gembos. Second castle coming in here for Ivailo. As I said, if Ivailo somehow wins this, which seems very unlikely given his position, especially because, as I said, Italians will be able to just eat your Mangudai with Genoese crossbows. Obviously, once you have onagers, it's a different thing, but onagers takes quite a lot of time and it's expensive, so it's hard to get to. Arbalest now in. That's actually a nice castle spot for Ivailo. Mangano also shelling that building, and when Chemistry hits, you immediately queue up 2 Bombard Cannons if you are John the Fearless, or at least you try to, but you don't have the resources for it. But you need Siege, because one of the ways that you can lose a game like this is having the imp advantage but having no Siege. Still, at this very moment, Ivailo also is quite a bit behind in terms of Voyager count. He had to idle his thesis quite a bit, I believe, to go into Imperial. 105 population is 154. I feel like this game seems nearly impossible right now for Ivailo. And I did mention that Italians is sort of a soft counter to Mongols. Post-Imperial, once onagers could be in and siege rams for the Mongols, it's not really something that works well. But before that, it's actually a very, very good civilization to work with. And this TC is slowly going down. I just don't know what exactly Ivailo going to do. He's going to go drill onagers. That's the idea. Now you have to keep in mind that if there is a couple of good onager shots, that could turn things around. As I said, the tricky thing with onagers is that it takes so much time to get to. And I love that he went for a fast drill. Went for stone walls on the left side. Because without drill, the Italians would just take down your onagers with bombard cannons. But with drill, the onagers are actually so fast that they can actually evade cannonballs if you want them to. There will be Hussar already being mixed in here by a red player. Onager comes in here, takes down that bombard cannon, and now the traps will also go down. Pavise for the Arbalest, which will actually give them a bit more armor. And it looks like the onagers, that might have been just a misclick or intentionally cutting down this forest for better onager micro. And now you actually start making traps over here. I think that Ivailo is actually aware of that castle. Indeed, he is. He's having a Mangudai out here denying the relic for now. Second castle coming in for John the Fearless. Castles are important for both players because you want to have Genoese crossbows and Mangudai. At the end of the day, still 30 villagers lead for John the Fearless. But once again, I'm starting to see a similar game to the previous one. John the Fearless is a big lead, but he's not really pushing his opponent. That being said, the advantage for Ivailo is still crazy. I think it's just going to be light cav onager from him. He onager cuts through here. I'm not sure if this is intentional or not. We already have a Hussar that's prepared though from our blue player. And actually it's going to be Cavalier. Interesting, he's floating a lot of food and goats. He can definitely afford Cavalier. Normally Italians go for just simply... Oh, you have to be careful. You have to be careful here. And also, here is a trap. So Ivaio needs to start trapping that castle down, but it's tricky because there's bombard cannons around. Still, he's got no answer to Cavalier, so I feel like 20 Cavalier appearing is actually going to finish off the game. I think what he needs to make sure, John, is that he doesn't show the Cavalier beforehand. He needs to wait until he has like 20 Cavalier with good upgrades, and then he can show them and just run into the opponent's eco with 20 Cavalier and finish the game. If Ayo actually wants to play with late cav, map control is very, very limited for him. So what that means is that he's gonna be starving for gold soon. His opponent is gonna be sitting on all gold. John the Fearless should have no trouble winning this game. If he doesn't win this one, he's going to get 4-0'd. I can guarantee this. Because his lead right now is absolutely amazing. He's in a 10 out of 10 position, whereas his opponent is at like a 1 out of 10. Arbalest now moving out. Castles once again being extremely important over here. Thumbring just now coming in. And the Cavalier will actually dive in to snipe the onagers. That's the plan here. They're waiting for the opportunity, waiting for plate barring. There will be a couple of light caps being mixed in as well. And then you will unleash the cavalry on the onagers and send in the bombard cannons and traps at the same time to push the castle. There's just no army on the field for Ivailo. 140 population is 199. He should not win this game. It was way better played, by the way, from John. And now there is the Cavalier. I wonder if that's actually a GG when we see the Cavalier. Although the bombard cannons do go down. There is a couple of manga die, but I mean, it's even bad for a joke. Nice split from our blue player. That's a nice onager shot. And onagers running away. There is enough meat shield in front, but one of the castles do go down. Once again, there is going to be no better chance for John the Fearless to win a game. Yeah, better than this one. But that's a lot of light cav and onagers. That's a lot of light cav. That's a lot of light cav, man. And the Cavaliers are slowly trickling in, but the push slows down. There's only 5 Cavalier on the field. Onager actually gets a big shot in. Another big shot. Oh my goodness. The Hussar for Mongols are way better than the Hussar for Italians. Italian Hussar is alright, but it's not amazing. As those villagers will definitely be denied from constructing this castle. Now Hussars are coming in. Another onager could almost pop the siege workshop, and it's going to land the shot on top of those arbalasts, I believe. Indeed, here it comes. Big shot coming in. All the arbalasts are going down. It's still 15 army against 56, but why do I have a feeling that we're going to see a similar hold to what we have seen in the previous game? Because the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm feeling that Ivaio is actually gaining confidence, and the only reason why I think that John the Fearless should still win this game is because this Cavalier rate has been pretty efficient, and Ivaio is down to 98 villagers, and indeed Ivaio taps out. For a moment it seemed like Ivaio can come back, but let's be honest, this was, as I said, pretty much a counter Sif here from John the Fearless, and he played it right. He played it really right, whereas I think Ivaio tried going for the greedy boom, but this was the first time where the greed of Ivaio was actually really punished, because this was super greedy. Free TC play here, and I suspected he wants to go aggressive, and he actually lamed his opponent. His start was way better. I don't exactly know what happened for Ivailo though. He lamed his opponent with Mongols, had 3 boars, but his feudal age was still the same. He lost water. He actually fell behind in land military as well, so this wasn't really well played by Ivailo. Definitely his weakest game. And an extremely important win for John the Fearless, because had he lost this, he would be down 3 games, and the 4th game is actually bypassed no matter what. So it is a preset map, and that means that we're going to see bypass right now, even though Ivailo has lost the game. That's extremely important. We're not going to see a home map from Ivailo here. We're going to see bypass, regardless of the fact that he lost it. This could be a nice situation indeed for John the Fearless, because if he wins now, they're dead even. And instead of fighting on the opponent's home map, they will fight on sort of neutral ground. Italians bring in the first win for John the Fearless. So now, it is going to be bypass. And I would think bypass will be Turks for Ivailo. On the other side, what do you pick for this map? Probably Malay. Vietnamese is still in for John the Fearless. That could be something, but I feel like Vietnamese is actually a civilization that he wanted to use on Arabia if Mayans get sniped, because hideout will be Teutons. Japanese could be Cup, although Japanese could very well be slopes as well. Vietnamese could also be slopes, so there is a lot of possibilities. But game number 4 is coming in right now. We still have a grand finals to play today, and it's already been 6 hours, so this is gonna be a 10-12 hour stream here. Ivailo versus John the Fearless, game number 4, coming in on Bypass, which is, as I said, a preset map, so no matter what, the players will be playing this one. John the Fearless on the left side in blue Malay, and the right side is going to be Ivaio as Turks in red. No surprise about this one. This is a tricky matchup because both civilizations have the ability and the opportunity to finish off the opponent. I think I like Malay more in post-Imperial. They just feel a lot more natural to me. But we'll see what Ivailo is playing with Turks over here. I think that the right play in this one, and that's very underrated, is fast castle into castle drop here, and then Janissaries and Mangonels through the middle. There is a lot of space to expand for John the Fearless, but the idea is that you have to kill his base faster than he can expand. And you can think about, okay, if he's expanding this direction, I can just drop another castle. So I think a fast castle Jenny play here is very, very underrated. So with that in mind, this is dangerous for John the Fearless. Well, not really a big deal, but he's keeping that gate open as my capture H froze for a moment, and the Rhino could actually walk out on the gate. Let me check if capture H is eating up my RAM. Capture H still has the memory leak issue, so that could be a bit of a problem. It might be time to restart it. But anyways, we will have Ivailo coming in, and if it's a wall over here, you guys know what that means. There were exactly 4 players on this map that did such a wall. And coincidentally, there are 4 GA members in the tournament. So I think this move over here, it's not about the fact that this is... it's about the fact that 4 players did this, and there's 4 GA members in the tournament, and the games are independent from each other, so it was always a player that did this as a new strategy. So it wasn't like, okay, player A beats player B, and then player A steals this strategy for the next round. We saw 4 different players trying this strategy, and as I said, coincidentally, there's 4 GA members in here. I think that's enough confirmation for us. Nili also tried it in his show match. I didn't see the Nili versus Kasva show match in its entirety, but yeah, that could be as well. I don't know. So, with that, we are actually going to have a fairly difficult deer push here for Ivailo. He has to push all the way around here. Not really ideal for him, to be honest. But other than that, he's 4 on wood. And I would love to see Janissaries. We have seen Tarkans, which is my favorite unique unit. I want to see my second favorite unique unit, which is the Janissary. If I could do one thing, I would just be playing with Janissaries and Tarkans whole day. Obviously, they're not always viable, but here a Janissary push actually makes some sense. We even have some fancy outposts over here, overlooking the walls. This feels like East-West Germany border in 1960. So... looks interesting. This really looks like a border checkpoint, to be honest. It's like, okay, we have the towers up here. For style points, I would love to see John just making 2 outposts over here. It would look so nice and comfy. With that, we already have, I think, all but 1 ostrich pushed in by John the Fearless. Other side is 1 zebra missing on the outside for Ivailo. And what is he up to? He's got 2 boars in, not adding a farm just yet. This map could very well be fast feudal into eco-heavy approach and then goes for then Castle Age. So it might not be a fast castle, it might be fast feudal. In fact, it seems like that's going to be the case for Ivilo. Indeed, this kind of feels like SimCity. So it is actually looking like SimCity, to be precise. So right now, we just have the two players big chilling over here. As there's going to be a second number camp. Now that the Dark Age farm has been dropped by Vilo, it is meaning that he is actually going to be playing with a fast castle play here. If he didn't want to fast castle and just go fast feudal, he wouldn't have dropped this farm because he still has plenty of sheep to work with. So this is indeed a clear fast castle for Vilo. Other side, it is probably going to be an FC as well with Malay. But Malay obviously will click up later, so it's not really a big deal. The question is, fast cast into what for Ivayo? It could be just a boom and relic collection type of a thing. Because he's actually walled off in the middle. So he could say, okay, I'm gonna go for ETC boom, start collecting relics and play for the late game. I like this move from John the Fearless though. This is a very, very smart move. He came in prepared because he sees that okay, it's a fast castle play from my opponent. It's very unlikely that he's actually going to push me on the outside. And you see that John the Fearless is even pushing in deer close to the mill. And the reason why he's doing it is because he wants to kill them very, very close to the mill here. This is extremely smart from John. I have to say that as much as I was praising many new strategies, most of them were brought in by GL. If this is really Hera, he's playing smart here. And Hera usually plays the meta, and he's very, very good at it. But this is a bit off meta, and I like it. I really like that Hera is improving that way, that he starts to go for some less conventional strategies. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but this is actually a huge deal here. That extra food eco, 4 villagers constantly on hunt, is a dream for a Malay player, or for any player basically. It looks like we're gonna have a stable blacksmith feudal from Ivilo over here. It's a 26 plus 2, and honestly, do you know what this could even be? With this much hunt, you could make a case for a fast imp. I don't think gold is gonna be satisfactory here, but a Malay fast imp with Arbalest Bombardkin is always something to consider here. So I would love to see John the Fearless trying something like that. He's gonna have no problem getting the food for Castle Age. That's not even a question. The question is if he actually wants to progress from that point on. He's 4 on gold, but with Malay you kind of need that to go up into Imperial. Ivilo just reaching Feudal Age, you see that his opponent is 3 villagers ahead and reaching Feudal Age right now. Stable Blacksmith, as expected from Ivilo. And really, the amount of food that's going to be available for John is great. He, I think, is going to be able to squeeze in double Bidaxe even before clicking up. Indeed, I think he's going to do that. He should have no trouble getting Bidaxe right now. He's not doing it, but I think if this is really just a fast castle, it's gonna be Bidaxe for him. Horse color first for Ivayo. I like that move because you wanna drop the farms with horse color first. You can wait a little bit with Bidaxe, but eventually Bidaxe is gonna come in as well. But look at those resources for John the Fearless. It's not gonna be a fast imp. This is too early for that, but it's gonna be a fast castle with an insanely strong eco, that's for sure. So really, the value in these villagers is insane, and I just want to check if Ivayo knows about this one. Ivayo does not. So, Ivayo doesn't know about this mill over here, which means that he has no idea that he should be pressuring this one and potentially taking away the food from the opponent. Anyways, bit of a scout scuffle coming in over here. Ivayo lands the first shot. It's actually going to be important for him as well. And honestly, it's not great for John the Fearless that he is not able to take the scout fight because his opponent is actually going to get light cap soon for free because he's Turks. And he apparently is showing his opponent his mill. This is interesting. He's bringing in the scout here to help with the vulture fighting. But at the end of the day, I feel like that was a mistake because it just showed Ivayo that his opponent is over there with the mill. And now it's going to be a forward TC here. MTC as well. Very, very nice and clean eco for the two players for now. Light Cav is in for Ivailo, and he's going to be playing with free TC as well, adding a couple more Light Cav to secure some relics for himself. Light Cav now trying to chase down the scout, will actually find the town center. And the question is if anyone is adding a 4th TC right now, because it seems like we're actually going to turn this into a boom game. And I wonder if that's just an auto-scouting scout, because it kind of seems like it. So, we're gonna have the scout coming in here. I actually took like a half a minute break over here. I brought in some water to drink, leaving that scout on follow because apparently the early game here is a bit more passive than I initially anticipated. And I was like, okay, this might be a good time to bring in some water because I'm not sure how much downtime we are gonna have after this and how long this game is gonna be. So here's the deal. It sounds like it's free TCs, right? And it actually is free TCs for both players. But partially from the melee bonus, partially from the fact that I think John the Fearless was a little bit earlier to Castle Age. In fact, indeed he was up 30 seconds before his opponent. He got 3 TCs up faster. So now he's possessing a very, very confident 15 Voyager's lead with Boso Horsecore, that's alright. Boso Heavy Plow is in for Ivailo, but he's behind by 15 wheels. He's adding Voyagers to Stone, but once again, he just got get outboomed. And the thing is that so far, what we have seen is that in the first 2 games, we had aggressive play from Ivailo, and that actually was able to secure him the victory, even though it wasn't really about the aggressive play. In the second game, it was more like outlasting the opponent. But the idea is, as we have TC number 4 coming in, that previous game, game number 3, and this game, they're playing a boom game, and it seems like John the Fearless is actually much better at booming than the opponent is. We are gonna have a forward siege workshop from Ivailo, but by the time this actually starts pressuring stuff, I feel like John the Fearless could potentially even go into Imperial. And an early Imperial Arbalest Bombard Cannon's power spike could be enormous here. John the Fearless adding Voyagers on Stone as well. 16 Voyagers lead. We will have 3 relics to compensate though. Light Cav beating up the Voes, and it's once again going to be 4 relics for our red player. I think it would be too ambitious to try and steal this relic, but he's got a Light Cav on it, so knowing that it is possibly Viper, he might actually try to send this monk all the way around here and steal that relic. He's gonna go for that first, but there is a chance that he will actually try to send the monk all the way around and try to steal that. It looks like this Voyage had to be walled in versus a lion, and now the lion is actually gonna get triggered by the other lady. Pikeman and Siege Workshop coming in here as Ivailo is stacking into Cavalry. His opponent is apparently thinking about Imperial Age with Scale Mail. And the other thing I like about John the Fearless's position is his food eco. The extra hunt that he's getting is extremely good here. Whereas Ivailo never really moved out to these extra food deposits. So this really is motivating players to move to the outside. And John the Fearless is doing this one really, really well. So here come the pikemen. And Ivailo for now is gonna mix in some knights, some monks. Monks can actually convert the pikemen as well. As we see that John the Fearless is having a bit of a production issue here. But still, technically, he can actually just go for his own mangonels and hold this one, or go for defensive castle. That works just as fine. And as I said, his resources are looking better and better for the Imperial Age ClickUp. It looks like John is actually going to cancel that upon seeing the monks, and he will probably reposition that castle elsewhere. Makes another siege workshop, because this siege workshop here on the front is probably going to go down. There's a mangonel inside, and I would assume that that mangonel will be targeting the two monks. This might be a time you jump out, take the two monks, and you will also damage that mangonel. So this is actually a scary push here for John the Fearless, but not something that he can survive, I think. In fact, we'll see what he's up to. He's actually piling up a lot of stone here. Mangonel pops out, takes down one scorpion over here. A pikeman was converted, but once again, it looks like John was able to weather the storm, and I think this is the moment where he will think about the castle. Because now you have the freedom to go for that. It looks like we'll have cav archers coming in here for Ivailo, but this map isn't really open for the cav archers to use their mobility, and with 30 villagers lead for John the Fearless, if it turns into a booming game, John is easily out-booming Ivailo. Both players are on 40 Cs, but at the end of the day, John has got a massive eco lead. And with that, now it's gonna be pikemen coming in. He sees exactly that his opponent is going for cav archers, so he could go for skirmishers, but I feel like arbalest and bombard cannon works a lot better. It looks like he's gonna go rams though. I think a hub and ram opening makes some sense as well, because you can actually start knocking on those really fast. I would love to see a workshop here and a couple of bombard cannons potentially trying to push the middle. Like ideal would be like 10 orbs and a bombard cannon pushing this middle, but we might just see fights over here on the outskirts. For now, it seems to be barracks and no crossbowmen whatsoever. Chainmail just now coming in. The problem that you're going to be facing if you are John the Fearless is that you won't really have... Oh, you won't really have anything against the cav archers, to be honest. You have rams, sure, but... like, if the cav archer numbers start growing, that could be very, very problematic right now. Still, it's a nice early push to go for Capdram, Halberdier, so that's gonna be the name of the game. We will have stone that's satisfactory for 2 additional castles almost. We will have a stone wall off coming in on the left side for Ivailo. It looks like he's gonna be sitting on 4 relics, so that compensates a tiny bit for being behind by 21 villagers. He's going into Imperial, but he's still 2.5 minutes away, and soon there will be rams knocking on his doors. Now here's the deal though, guess what? Turks are amazing at countering infantry because they have a Janissaries. So, if you're Ivailo right now, I think you consider Janissaries. Let's see if we have any of them. That castle ain't going up, my friend. There is no way John the Fearless gets that castle up out there. There isn't really a lot of rams, which buys a bit of a time for Ivailo, still 1.5 minutes away from Imperial. 24 army compared to 17, but the quality of the army is what is questionable. And overall, the production will be missing for Ivailo. Like, he's gonna lose these ranges. What exactly is he going to do resource-wise? Is he playing onagers? No, that can't be the case. He can't be going onagers because Turks don't have onagers. Mangonels are fine dealing with the rams, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do against the Halberdiers? Halberdiers will just run in and snipe your mangonels. Ballistics, so it's gonna be cav archers. It looks like we have an attempted sneak here from John the Fearless. A light cav is going to help out for this voyager. So John is actually going to open up the left side as well. Somehow, oh, that's what is happening. It looks like they're pushing the middle for Ivailo, but I think nice reaction from John just getting a castle up there. That's where the cav archers are. So he wants to stall out the fight on the outside and simultaneously push the middle. His voyager is still alive, so he can actually keep building this wall, but there's already the barracks coming up on the left side as well. The purpose of the mangonels here is pretty simple. You want to take down those rams. Even after taking down the rams though, this is going to be a little bit tricky. Ram just diving in on the scorpions, and mangonels aren't great against capped rams, that's the problem. They're good against battering rams, but they're not good against kept drams. And if this castle goes down, Ivayo is in big trouble. In fact, Ivayo is in big trouble. So I was right about assuming that it's going to be problematic that you don't have any army over there. And I was right. Immediate bombard cannon in, but that bombard cannon is just going to get poked down by the Haveliers. And the Imperial Age power spike of Malay is coming in, and someone asked on Bay why don't you pick Malay there. One of the reasons why is because Malay can be so strong on these closed maps. In particular, I think Malay is one of the best civilizations for bypass, but it could be very good for hideout, for example. And it soon seems like what appeared to be a stomp from Ivayo's side suddenly becomes a very even matchup, with the final two games extremely one-sided towards John the Fearless. Because John right now is dominating his opponent massively. Cav Archers in now for Ivailo, but I mean, he's just forced to mass migrate and he will soon be pushed from the left side with Haveliers and Rams. He just doesn't have the army. It's 50 army against 9. John takes game number 4, and this is why I said it's so important that it was a neutral map and not something that's the opponent's home map. So instead of potentially playing on Ivailo's home map and getting a free 1, where Ivailo comes up with a good game plan, let's say, you play in a neutral ground, and now you even things out to a 2-2, and you go to Ivailo's home map with an even score. Obviously, this is where things will actually start being better and better, though, for Ivailo, because obviously neutral map could go either way, but he won cross on the opponent's home map, and now game number 5 and 6 will be the loser's home map, so there will be at least one home map of Ivailo being played in this one, but that's also something to consider. Let's say the next game is won by Ivailo, it's 3-2. Game number 6 will be on the home map of John the Fearless, and if John the Fearless wins that, and then the decider game is going to be on neutral ground, no matter what, the decider game is on neutral ground. So with that, we are gonna have the Rams slowly pushing down the castles. It seems nearly impossible for Ivailo to come back into this one. He's just losing castle after castle, he's got nowhere to go. He had 11 army, and 11 cav archers with dubious upgrades. Well, they actually have decent upgrades, but I mean, it's not going to save this castle, it's not going to stop the Rams. And we might see a push anytime in the middle, as I'm saying that. Krebs, Hobbs coming in as well. This game should be in the hands of John the Fearless, and I don't see Ivailo coming back into this one. Still, we're gonna have a super competitive series, and now you see why Robo actually decided to start today 1 hour earlier, because we are 7 hours almost into the stream, as the relics will also go ungarrisoned thanks to the trap. Almost 7 hours into the stream, and we only had game number 4 of the second semifinals, and we will have an entire grand finals and the reveal after. This could very well be a 12-hour stream. Spontaneous 12-hour stream, ladies and gentlemen. Now it's gonna be probably Arbalest or just Elite Skirms. Doesn't really matter, because like, Ivailo's got nowhere to go. Look at that, he's losing buildings faster than he can rebuild, and he's losing buildings on the left side, losing buildings on the right side. It's not because he's completely dead right now, but where is he going to go exactly? He's pulling villagers to kill traps. But at this point, it's just, he's just losing buildings faster than he can replace them. And wherever I look, John the Fearless is just killing villagers. The KD is actually in the favor of Ivailo, but it doesn't really matter, because this is an inefficient, well, not inefficient, but I would say not so great in terms of cost efficiency, very good in efficiency overall type of push for John the Fearless. And yeah, there is a couple of cav archers here, but we're talking about 14 cav archers trying to stop Rams and Halberdiers, and the tech switch is already being prepared by John the Fearless, so he's just gonna send in Arbalest or Elite Skirm. This game is over. This game has been over a long time ago. John the Fearless can make a monastery here and pick up 4 relics as well if he wants to, but it was possible for Ivailo to come back in the cross game. That's not gonna be possible over here. John the Fearless won't let this slip out of his grasp. Right now Ivailo is hoping that cav archers save the day for him, but yeah, that's not really going to be the case. And John the Fearless evens out the series, and we got a series for us over here. And an hour ago, it seemed like Ivailo is going to 4-0 this one after a crazy comeback on cross. Now it seems like this could be harder for him than ever. Who do we think these players are? It is very likely Vilo is Viper and John the Fearless is Hera. And once again, Hera never has beaten Viper in an S tier tournaments main event. So the only time where Hera actually beat Viper in a tournament was in like at least a fairly sizable or notable tournament was Arabia Invitational, I think last summer or so. But that was the only one. With that, we'll actually take a look at the draft. So Malay are gone, and the Turks are gone over here, which means that now we're going to Ivilo's home map, which could be Quarry, Hideout, or Slopes. Let's start assigning civilizations here. Quarry should be Britons. Technically, it can be Celts or Khmer even, but Britain seems so right on that. Cup will probably be Celts. Slopes and Hideout remaining. Most likely Khmer will be for Hideout, and Franks will be the pick for Slopes. Other side, let's see. Teutons will probably be the Hideout save. Teutons versus Khmer was a pretty popular matchup in the qualifiers on Hideout, and Teutons actually dominate Khmer on Hideout. Indians most likely for Slopes. Japanese, I assume, for Cup, and Vietnamese potentially for Quarry. Vietnamese on Quarry could be interesting because Vietnamese is a bit of a counter pick to Britons, as we have game number 5 coming in here. I'm tempted to start liking the Vietnamese on Quarry idea because it's a bit of a counter pick to Britons, and Britons is the obvious pick for that map. With that being said, we'll jump into game number 5. And we will be on Quarry. So the first time we're actually seeing Quarry in the entire tournament is on the semifinals day. It hasn't been played in the previous rounds. It is your budget Black Forest, and Ivilo is picking the obvious civilization of Britons here. I think Britons is the S tier civ of this map. This is just like Black Forest. If you wall off the middle, then you should be good to go. So I think what I said is that what you can either do here is a Drush FC, or potentially fast feudal into Voz and eco and then Castle Age. The reason why I do fast feudal is because in case you get tower rushed, you have to be able to drop towers. The berries always spawn on the front, but berries aren't really a big deal. What's a bigger deal is that there is a lot of hunt in the middle. So you will see the players actually pushing indeed. There's 17 deer overall in the middle. The players are separated by a thin line of trees, and why this map is so interesting and why I like to play, or why I like this map so much, is because I feel like there's so many gimmicky plays that you can actually do over here in terms of potentially chopping through. I think the right play, as I said, is either Drush FC or fast feudal Voz into eco and then Castle Age with outpost over here and here. If you do that, it's going to turn into a late Imperial boom game. Alternative option is that, just like on Black Forest, you can try sneaking a villager through. Like, this is actually an opening where if Ilo could try sneaking a villager early on, that would be very possible. So the Britons is the obvious sip pick over here for this map because Britons are absolutely a late game powerhouse. Warwolf traps, longbows, arbalasts, halberdier play. This is a map where you don't need mobility. Some maps like Cross require a lot of mobility. Other maps like this one require no mobility but brute force power. I think the top 2 sifs here are Celts and Britons. As, oh, look at that. Look at that, Ivilo actually wanted to kill 2 of the sheep, but failed to do with the second one. Actually nice. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because there is still pushable deer here. Ivilo is not what? John is not Larry. Ivilo, not so much. Like, that's a very bad prediction, to be honest. Or I think so, at least. If anything, it is John, Leary, and Ivailo Viper. But no, I think it is John seems to be Hera and Ivailo seems to be Viper. All I'm going to say is check the colors of the previous round for John. And I think that's going to tell you a lot about the players. But anyways, we're gonna have Vietnamese. That's what I wanted to go with this. That the obvious safe pick for here is Britons. But Vietnamese is sort of a counter pick to that with Rattan Archers. They have bombard cannons, I believe, which means that they can actually take a decent fight against the Trebs. It's not really a hard counter, but it's a reasonable counter overall. Imperial skirms versus elite skirms, so it's a tough one for Britons to have. And I think the civil advantage is actually on the side of John in this one. Indeed, that's something that's interesting to talk about, that many of these maps have a tendency to stall out. This is something I don't necessarily like about the overall map pool of the event. I think this map pool seems to be a little bit unbalanced towards maps that tend to go into very, very long games. I don't necessarily mind that from the perspective that I like post-Imperial games. I really like long games, grindy games. I like them much, much better than super open maps. The main problem with this one is that if every game is 1 hour long, then casting is a nightmare. As we have a sneaky villager attempted here by John the Fearless. As I said, this is just like a budget Black Forest, or no, it's not a sneaky villager for now, it's a villager attempted to be sniped. Nice move from John, but here comes the scout, so should have no option. So the idea is that many maps can stall out. Cup, Bay, both can go very long. This map always goes long. I think Hideout can go very long. Quarry, Islands can go very long in most cases. So the most popular maps, even Slopes often has the tendency to go very long. So the most popular maps in a tournament usually yield hour-long games, which is not necessarily a problem, as I said. Hour-long games are fun to watch. I think the bigger problem is that it results in 5-hour-long series for a best of 5. And as I said, today we have been streaming for 7 hours, and this is game number 5 in a best of 7, and we have a best of 7 grand finals. Will Tupos have good maps? I would say Tupos... This tournament also has good maps. It's not about the good maps. It's about... it's a little bit heavily shifted towards the long maps. It's not really a big deal, as I said. In fact, I like long maps and these late game maps myself.
Ready.
It's about... It's hard to plan the casting schedule when it comes to all these maps that can stall out for 5 hours. Tupos is a little bit more balanced map pool, I would say. So we put some emphasis on having some more open maps as well. We have some closed maps as well, but we added some open ones as well. So I think to compensate a little bit for a map like Quarry, you probably need something like Atacama in the map pool. Because otherwise, you're just going to have very, very long maps. Nice move there, by the way, from John the Fearless, saving that villager. There is a Drush coming in from Ivailo, by the way, which actually turns into a Man-at-Arms play. On the other side, it looks like John the Fearless wanted to go Drush, but now it's Man-at-Arms in. Scouts were traded, but their Man-at-Arms are still around, and they will just deny the berries. So that's already an achievement, I would say. But this is the time when players will just be walled off and say, okay, whatever. From now on, we will just go booming. So I think that this tournament is just lacking very open maps a bit. Mudflow is actually closer to that, but Mudflow, the players are too far away from each other, and the forest in the middle is not open enough. So usually it still brings very, very long games, unfortunately, even though it's technically an open map. So we don't really have a lot of fast-paced maps for this tournament. Not really a big deal, as I said. I just want to point that out. With that, Ivailo is now coming in with towers, going for the berries. This is why I said I don't think a standard fast castle is legitimate on this map, because you are quite exposed to towers. So what you want to do is fast feudal, towers, defense, and then you can just go for Castle Age. Still, nice defense over there from John the Fearless. The Man-at-Arms will try to come in now and deny those villagers from repairing. There's an archer range coming in for John. And it looks like this actually just turns into a Drush Archers from John, because John doesn't really have the food right now. You wonder what time the final will start. Could be late for players because of time difference. The thing is that if it actually goes too late, then it probably will be recorded games as well. The ideal scenario, nice quick wall over there. The ideal scenario is that it is live games, but if it's not feasible because the qualifiers take too, or not the qualifiers, but the semifinals take too long, we will have recorded games most likely. I think we had a tournament before that was like that. Quick warning against the archers is cute, but it's not really going to work out well. And oh my goodness, this is a disaster for John the Fearless. I don't think he's fearless anymore with those archers camping down his wood line. Skirmishers trying to focus down the archers, but men-at-arms are slowly eating them up. And with that, John is still fine. Loses one villager, but look at that, archers once again coming back in. We do have a militia chilling here. That's actually, look at this, this is smart. This is smart from John. He's camping with one militia on each side to see if his opponent will actually try to chop through there. That's a very, very smart thing to do. So, with that, we are gonna have the skirmishers finally trapping these archers in here. The man-at-arms actually might be able to find some more value. Maybe kill one more villager over here. It's gonna be close, but I don't think it's actually going to be a villager killed. The first man-at-arms dies, and indeed, this push ends here. I'm looking at resources though. This allowed Ivailo to go to the middle, take some hunt for himself, and that's a very underrated thing to do as well. The extra hunt here could be extremely important. I like that there's actual strong walls here, not just a layer of palisade, because a layer of palisade is kind of feels like it's made out of paper, so it is really easy to get through that. I like that these are reinforced walls with houses and a stone wall or a stone gate. So with that in mind, we will have probably even castle age times over here. John the Fearless is a little bit heavy on gold, so he's getting the market to balance his eco, whereas his opponent's eco balance seems to be a little bit more in shape. Went for quite a lot of farms though without horse color, not necessarily ideal. His opponent also is without horse color, so it's not really a big deal though. So this is the situation where John the Fearless could be in a bit of a trouble though. Oh no, John Fearless could be actually in a happy situation. It is Ivaio who's gonna be in trouble, because from this point on, Vietnamese are just simply better than Britons, especially once there is a castle coming up for John the Fearless. What Ivailo can hope for is that maybe he can outboom his opponent with the cheaper Briton TCs, but he even needs to mine stone to be able to drop town centers. You see that he's at 45 stone right now, so he's gonna send 3 villagers on stone. Horse color and gold mining coming in right now. So with that, we are gonna have the archers coming out for Ivailo. It looks like he's just continuing single range archers over here. John the Fearless, this is a very, very nice thing to do. Just patrolling over here, and you see that this was the game plan for Ivailo. This was the game plan for Ivailo. For now, it's an outpost only, but it's actually a little bit sloppy from Ivailo that he's just getting the outposts up. Like, his opponent could already have chopped through. There was no guarantees that there is no chop here. Imagine if they already chopped through and there is like 5 ranges over here already. So you see each other, I think, and that means that no one is actually going to chop through over there. It looks like John is not actually seeing the outpost, but he's patrolling over here, which means that he's going to spot if there's a chop through attempt over there. That the next time that's gonna be useful, like this crossing here, could be from Knowledger cut. Anyways, Ivailo actually getting beaten to Castle Age here by a couple of seconds, as we'll have 3 TCs for John. And honestly, based on the last 2 games where we just saw the 2 players booming, I feel like this is great for John the Fearless, right? Just think about it this way. It was booming game in game number 3, and Ivailo lost. Booming game in game number 4, or Ivailo lost. Booming game in game number 5, Ivailo is gonna have the worst unit composition in Imperial. Rattan Archers, Imperial Skirms will be very, very tough for Britons to deal with. So now Krauses will start moving in though, and that's not something that John the Fearless necessarily expected that there is going to be crossbows pushing in the middle, and the tower was slowly weakening this house, and that actually allows Ivailo to go for a lot more aggressive play. I like this a lot more. He will be on 2 TCs for now, but I think he needs to go aggressive indeed. The problem is that the TCs are already up for the Vietnamese player. Vietnamese late game should be better with Bombardkins and Ratners, absolutely. Vietnamese destroy Britons on this map. And I love this counter pick for John the Fearless. And if this is really Hera, I wanna give a shout out to his preparation, because he seems well prepared, and for years, the Aftermath drafting was a meme. Everybody was saying, oh, AM drafting this, AM drafting that, and it was a meme on how bad Aftermath players drafted. I feel like if this actually goes into late Imperial with the Vietnamese, and John the Fearless wins that, then you can actually say that, hey, this draft was actually very, very good from John. That being said, he has to wait for elite skirms to kick in right now, and that means that he's off from gold, and those crossbows are actually doing an awful lot of damage. Finishing off the crossbows first over here, and then once we have like 3 or 4 elite skirms, they will actually jump on these guys. There is no botkin arrow, by the way, on those skirmishers, neither there is +2 defense, so those skirms are actually pretty potato. And now, it looks like Ivailo, he's gonna be on 3 TCs as well, but this push is looking much, much stronger. This definitely caught John off guard. I think John thought it's just gonna be a double boom, and this is one of the reasons why I reinforced these walls like this. Had those walls been reinforced over time, obviously there was a tower there, but maybe even had the second layer behind with houses or something. So if it wasn't just a single layer of palisades, then it would have been very possible to keep this army out here. Now you're actually under pressure, and remember what happened in the first game. We are gonna have Arbalest, or not Arbalest, but in the first game we had some crazy Mangonel micro from Ivailo, and that could be very, very troublesome for John the Fearless to handle. Ballistic's not in yet for Ivailo. Instead, he chooses to go for 3 TCs, and the beautiful thing here is that, once again, this is not an all-in push. He is just going in, doing some damage to the opponent's eco, but behind this one is actually booming on 3 TCs. Villagers will try to actually step down that Mangonel now, and that could work out. It's a little sloppy from Ivailo, leaving that Mangonel alone. And now the skirmishers will actually try to find the crossbows. This is a disaster for Ivailo here. This is an absolute disaster. All of his army is going down here. And at the end of the day, he killed 3 villagers out of his opponent. That is by far not enough. All the army going down. I would dare to say this was a good trade for John the Fearless. He traded like, what, 20 crossbows to 3 villagers at the end of the day. And once he cleans that tower up, he's actually able to reinforce his walls. John the Fearless is actually getting closer and closer to taking over in this game. And that would be a scary territory for Ivailo, because he was leading very, very heavily after the first 2 games. But now, as I said, John is taking over. And even though the ecos are even, that's totally true, you have to consider that if it's an even game, Vietnamese will or at least should win in post-Imperial. That's the thing. So it's the problem that the Britons are facing here is that they're on timer. They can't afford to have an even match with Vietnamese when the Vietnamese actually get to Imperial. It looks like we're gonna have some knights being mixed in for what? Okay, there is a stable. I was confused for a moment. There will be a couple of knights being mixed in to try and snipe the Mangonels with scale boarding, because John the Fearless also starts feeling the pressure here. He is not in a big trouble, but now it's a 10 villagers lead, because there are villagers dying left and right on the farms and on the gold mines, and this is the type of push that Ivailo needs. As he's firing down hills, takes down a Mangonel, and I feel like Ivailo has once again shifted gears. This is the type of push that he needs, because now he's taking over in villager count slowly. So, really, so far his push wasn't really convincing. Now this one is actually getting scarier and scarier. Now, John the Fearless still doesn't have to be completely worried, as he's getting another range up, another stable. We do have faster working Britain ranges. In fact, only one of them right now, a second range, is just now coming in. So right now, I guess what John is waiting for is that he's trying to stall this one out as much as possible and then unleash the knights. And the ecos are still really close, so I feel like this is tricky because it seems like Ivailo is doing a good job pushing, but the reality is that, now if this castle goes up, John is actually in big trouble. I think John cannot wait more with the knights. He needs to unleash the knights, but I don't think he has enough numbers here. I just don't think that he has enough numbers. Chainboarding is in, and look at Ivailo. Indeed, he's shifting gears, balancing his eco, going into Imperial. And if that castle goes up and Ivailo reaches Imperial, he's gonna be able to finish off John here. And look at that, both the TCs are under fire, and I think John might not see that. Oh, John sees the castle, but he's waiting and waiting. I feel like this is getting closer to what we're seeing in game number 1, though, because it seems like John is waiting for his opportunity to react, and there's... Like, the truth is that there is a lot of space to fall back over here. But reality is that you're gonna lose 2 of your TCs, and Scorched Earth tactics this, Scorched Earth tactics that. At the end of the day, Ivailo is gonna be up to Imperial much faster, and as I said, Britons do not want to be even in Imperial Age with Vietnamese, because Vietnamese army comp is just much better. But now they're not even. In fact, they're beating the Vietnamese player to Imp very heavily, and John the Fearless is actually trying to do a similar thing than what Philip the Good did against John in the previous round, kind of slowing down the push and waiting for a big knight's counterattack. The problem is that this is doing already too much damage. 2 TCs lost like that is not something that you actually can afford. So this is going to be very troublesome. I feel like John might tap out when he sees his opponent being in Imperial. He's waiting for his opportunity to do one big counterattack with knights, but I don't think he's expecting his opponent to be in Imp. Because, like, he can't do much against an Imperial Age player. It's 12 on food, he's just rebuilding his farming eco. So, I think in 20 seconds this is gonna be a GG. He can't do anything against this. Even if he cleans up the crossbows, there is gonna be a next wave of ARPs coming in. What does the reveal look like in Hidden Cup? Basically, one by one we'll get to know who the players were. And yeah, immediately. Immediately, Imperial Age GG. I guess we were somewhat lucky that this game didn't stall out for 20 minutes, but I think that the final 2 minutes or 3 minutes from Ivailo was crystal clean. Before that, it was a little sloppy. Or so. But Ivailo wins his home map, an extremely important win to stop the bleeding here, because he was dangerously close to falling behind in score. Ivailo takes over in terms of score. We'll take a quick look at the draft. And with that, Britons are gone for Ivailo. And technically Vietnam is a counter pick here, but Ivailo used his power spike in Castle Age very well with the mangonels and crossbows, and it seems like he caught John the Fearless off guard with this Castle Age push. With that, we do have game number 6 coming in. Game number 6 will be on the home map of John the Fearless. It has to be Cup. It was the decider game. It was a 2-2 score between Layloy and John the Fearless in the first round. Layloy ended up losing that long, grindy Cup game in a game where John the Fearless was using Britons. In fact, in all of the games that John the Fearless has played on Cup, he used Britons. That's not going to be available here. The civ for Ivailo is likely going to be Celts, but against it, it has to be Japanese, I believe. We're gonna have game number 6 coming in here. So, with that, we will jump inside game number 6 over here. The final home map of John the Fearless. Game number 7 will be on an even ground, which is Mudflow. So it's no one's home map. It is a preset map. So it is very possible for John the Fearless to come back over here. He needs to win his own home map and then win a neutral map. That's the end of the story overall. So with that, welcome to Cup. We're going to have John the Fearless on the right side in blue, left side in red is going to be Ivayo in red. No surprise about the civilizations, it's Celts versus Japanese matchup, the battle of the infantry civilizations. Mobility is gonna be on the side of the Celts in post-imp, and the thing is that this game usually has a tendency, like Cup, to stall out until Imperial, because it is so hard to finish off your opponent. There is so much space to fall back to, so many... It's not really a neutral resources, but you can fall back this direction, you can fall back this direction, a lot of wood lines, for example. So it's very hard to finish off your opponent. With that, John is actually going to have berries at the back, stone at the back, that's nice. The gold is not so great. It's gonna be hard to defend type of a base here. The gold is also pretty bad for Ivailo, but he's got a gold here that's very far away. It's going to be good gold, but only in the future, because it takes so much time to walk there. This is a perfect berry spawn, by the way. You place a mill here, one tile away from all these berries, and that's a perfect berry spawn. The L-shaped berries is always the nicest to have, because you can actually place a super efficient mill over there without villager bumping. So, what did John the Fearless do in the previous 2 rounds on this map? He pretty much went for what was essentially close to a Drush FC, and then went for the big pond with galleons. That was the idea. And once you have the galleons, here he was trying to secure the middle gold island. So, with that, Ivailo bringing in the first boar over here. Deer push coming in for Ivailo as well. Other side, John the Fearless coming in with the boar as well. Hera is the one that uses 4 villagers to weaken a boar with a town center. That's also a little bit of a piece of information for those of you that don't know this. And with that, let's see if we're gonna have a premier Drush attempted here for Ivailo. He is 4 on wood, with Celt that might still be good enough for a hybrid map build, and it's actually gonna be a pond for Ivailo. There is quite a lot of fish on this pond right now. Many of them are close to Ivailo, but overall, I feel like there is just more fish on this map, or at least in this pond, than what we have seen so far in the previous rounds of the tournament. Maybe between the quarterfinals and semifinals, they actually increased the amount of fish in here. I don't know. I don't think so. It might just be a different map generation here. But one thing is sure, there is more deep fish in this pond than it used to be. Or at least from what we have seen. With that, villagers can also do some shore fishing over here. And it looks like John the Fearless will just go for the good old-fashioned militias to pressure the fishing eco type of strategy over here. Potentially following it up with an FC. And then first boom, most likely. But then he's actually going to go for war galleys and galleons. So for now, John the Fearless is actually going to be behind him on eco. Thanks to the fact that he doesn't have any fishing ships. But here come the militias. The Celtic militias have lost their speed bonus in Dark Age. But it doesn't really matter because these are Japanese militias. But it was more frequent from Celts to see Drushes in this map. But that's way less popular nowadays. At least on this map. Because the speed bonus was lost. So, the militias here, the best they can do is push away the villagers from the fish. And it looks like this one lonely fishing ship is going to be the only one that benefits on pond. This is sort of a win for John. Because at the end of the day, you invest a lot into the dock and the fishing ships and you want to benefit from them. The fishing ship is the bigger or the smaller cost. The dock is the bigger cost. A dock and a fishing ship together for only 1 villager worth of value is not really great. So, John the Fearless, it looks like it's gonna be in the Drush FC, adding farms already. In this one, mining gold on the right side. And he's actually pretty heavy on berries. He could send out some villagers for the hunt. On the other side, it looks like Ivailo is actually thinking about a delayed Drush FC here as well. So he's gonna bring in the militias and he will try to trade the militias to the opponent. Loom coming in just now for John the Fearless, and that's actually 23 villagers. In that case, that's actually fast Drush archers from him. Not gonna go for fast castle, instead goes for archers. Other side, it looks like Ivailo actually is thinking about the Drosh FC. So, militias are now out. And what this means is that he's going to have to trade militias to the opponent over here. In terms of overall HP, we do have absolutely even HP for the two groups. So it all depends on the micro. 127 against 128 HP. But this, I think, actually benefits Ivailo a little bit better because he's going to have a cleaner FC. And his opponent is going to be with archers, but by the time the archers actually start becoming a factor, I could see Ivailo being relatively safe going into Castle Age, although it's tricky. Because I feel like this is a very, very ballsy strategy to go Drush FC on this map with such an open map here. It looks like we're going to have a villager coming in here. And is that the place where Ivailo is going to mine gold from? That would be interesting. Nope, he's gonna mine gold here. In this case, what this villager is doing is probably a dock here, because you want to have fish, and you probably want to add fishing eco here as well. Dock coming out now for John the Fearless on the smaller pond. And it looks like these militias are doing just enough to idle the fishing ships of Ivailo. And let's see if we get men-at-arms. Indeed, we get men-at-arms from John. It makes quite a lot of sense, because your opponent has militias. So you want to have some sort of advantage. Japanese men-at-arms will absolutely clap these militias here. But you also have to consider that Ivailo has mobility advantage with his militias. And there's a chance that Ivailo will not actually end up fast castling this one, even though the timing of this feudal age is a Drush FC timing. But seeing the men-at-arms, he might choose to go for his own men-at-arms as well. Here come the men-at-arms, cutting off the escape path to the opponent's DC. Nice block over there. And John the Fearless is going to get an easy villager kill over here. Indeed, men-at-arms will be the idea for Ivailo. Still, there is a free villagers lead in his favor, thanks to the fact that he's got fishing eco working for him, and there's a dock coming in here as well. The scout is too weak, so it won't actually be able to stop this villager. It will only just gather precious scouting information. But speaking of precious scouting, one thing that Ivailo doesn't know, at least up until now, is that his opponent is actually pushing him on water as well. Both ponds having fire galleys out. And if those fishing ships go down, all the investment for Ivailo is gone and the villager count will be even. So this is actually looking fairly decent for John the Fearless. This is his home map, so you would expect him to have a bit of an advantage in this fire galley coming out on both docks. Wars will be coming for John the Fearless just now. And indeed, both players are pretty much stuck in feudal for a time being. And that is gonna be a scout being poked down by the villager. And then the villager is gonna be able to escape. Overall, nice micro from Ivailo. And that means that he's gonna be able to finish off the men-at-arms of his opponent. Now it looks like John is bringing in some fire galleys to weaken the opponent's men-at-arms. Still, at the end of the day, now it's John the Fearless that is going to start fishing here. And that's going to start boosting his eco up to the sky. So the two players rather have even food ecos right now. Double bit axe in for both players. No horse color on either side, but there is quite a lot of farms. And even the men-at-arms is helping knocking down that dock. Fire galley will come out right now, and alongside a demo. Other side, it looks like we'll have fire galleys coming from both sides, and that's a nice find for Ivailo. He is finding a villager, and he's finding a fishing ship here. And that means that the ecos are slowly evening out. John the Fearless right now, one villager ahead of his opponent. And it is going to be probably 2 when this fishing ship goes down. And it is going to go down. Men-at-arms is joining the party as well, beating up the fire ship. Other side, a fire galley pop out as well. And that's one of the weaker fire galleys of John the Fearless. He's trying to save it right now, bring it back home. And it looks like Ivailo is just going to disengage and say, okay, whatever. He's going to have an archer here that could help at deciding this fight in his favor. Although you see that the HP advantage is on the side of Ivailo, so he's going to be able to win that anyways. And now, fire galleys actually trying to take this fight over here. Men-at-arms were trying to finish off the villager, but that was unsuccessful. Still 4 villagers killed by John, and only 2 by Ivailo. But the villager count are actually very, very close. And Ivailo is actually getting closer to Castle Age over here. Regardless of what happens, John the Fearless isn't going to give up on this easily. Because it is the decider game for him. John the Fearless needs to win in order to get into the, or at least in order to have a chance at getting into the finals. He's actually taking over the pawns now, but being beaten to Castle Age could actually be extremely problematic over here. A demo comes in, slightly inefficient, but still damages one of the fire galleys, which means that the fight is a little bit more even now in the favor. Well, it's not really in the favor of anyone right now, but the HP advantage, I think, is now on the side of John once again, but not by a massive margin. Nice job actually repairing the fire galleys over here and cleaning up the water there as well. This Man-at-Arms Archer is looping around. It might actually just be here to harass the villagers. And this could be a very annoying archer, because right now, John the Fearless has no production buildings, he's just getting a stable up. Which means that one archer behind this wood line can actually harass this wood line so badly. It looks like John actually wants to go to Castle Age himself. The question is, what is exactly Ivaio doing? He's 4 on stone. So theoretically it's not impossible that we'll see... Like, he can't castle drop right now, that's for sure. But this is way too much for just town centers. He's gonna have a 1 minute advantage into Castle Age. It's only one range right now from him, no stable whatsoever. And there is the sneaky stable. There is a sneaky stable for Ivailo, as he's going to start pushing the opponent's base with that. And as I said, he keeps villagers on stone. So that's gonna be enough for a defensive castle, or potentially an aggressive one if he has the ability to make that. Needless to say, if Ivailo is able to get a castle up some round over here, that's a dream. It seems somewhat unlikely right now, but he would actually control 3 gold mines with a castle around here. That would be an extremely good position. And it looks like indeed we're going to have Ivailo trying a Hoang rush here. Vorgali coming in just now for him. His opponent is behind by 45 seconds. And this fire ship apparently is just chilling over here, not really caring about that little fishing ship over there. Still, there is the stable and a monastery now, and the knight will actually start knocking on the walls, or won't. I think it's better as well if you wait here. You gotta wait. You got a couple of knights out, potentially monks, and a mangonel most importantly, because the mangonel is meant to deny the second layering of this wall. So you don't want John to be able to repair the walls. With that being said, we are gonna have just 1 TC from Ivailo. And I did mention in previous casts I had on this map is that I feel like 1 TC builds are extremely risky. Because if you don't actually finish off your opponent really fast, there is so much space to fall back to, and it's so hard to finish off your opponent that it nearly feels impossible to come back if he's actually starting to boom, and you can punish him for that immediately. That being said, this definitely catches John off guard, and he's going to lose 2 villagers in the process, might actually lose a 3rd one. Mangonel comes in here, lands a shot. Now the knight is coming in for John. He's got bloodlines +1 defense versus no bloodlines +1 defense. Nice value for those mangonels. A second TC is being added. The knights will just run straight into that though, and that means that they will slowly die, but they will take quite a lot of villagers with them. In fact, now this is chain barring, and that's quite a lot of villagers dying over there for Ivailo. That's more than what he's actually clearing from his opponent, that's for sure. So it's 45 villagers now for John, and 40 only for Ivailo. And I think if you are John, or if you're Ivailo, you're thinking about defensive castle here, because you're gonna get pushed by siege as well pretty soon. And if you get to defensive castle, you could actually think about Void Raiders. Knights come out now for John trying to surround this army over here. The mangonels are pushing the TC. 2 TCs for both players at this very moment, but there's a 9 villagers lead already for John, with Bidax Horse Colors, same upgrades for his opponent here. Monks still out. And let's see if there's a defensive monastery for John. Here's the tricky thing though. The best way to stop Celtic Rush is with a defensive castle, but you don't have access to stone. It looks like what we're gonna have for John is a TC in the middle. That's going to be TC number 3. And he probably will mine stone from this deposit as the knights are now diving in. Monks are slowed of misposition, and you could dive in and snipe the mangonels if you want to save that TC. We will have one monk sniped down by the scout before a conversion could kick in. And it looks like the mangonels will also go down. The TC stays up. Other side, fire ships burning down houses, and mangonel comes in here. There is still a 10 vouchers lead for John the Fearless, TC number 3 on the way for both players, as a scout picks off another monk over here. The KD is heavily in the favor of John, and we could be going into a decider game, and as I said, a decider game would be even ground. Neither of the players selected Mudflow as their home map. I would think that I like Ivaio a little bit more on Mudflow than I like John, but this could be an even series very soon. Ivaio is actually getting close to dropping a castle, but he's behind by 10 villagers, and as I said, if you get outboomed on this map, you are dead. And it currently seems like he's gonna get outboomed. I like the fact that John is actually still having some fishing ships over here. In fact, he could even add 1 or 2 because he's got this part of the map very, very safe. Also using the shorefish to his advantage. 24 on food, which means that he can actually produce villagers, whereas his opponent only has 7 on food. That's not really satisfactory here. 900 stone in the bank, but I feel like the eco once again is going to be much, much greater for John the Fearless. And in a very, very important situation, in the decider game between John the Fearless and Philip the Good, John was able to edge out victory on cup. It's an equally important situation. It's a decider game. Well, it's not a decider game, but it's a match point for Ivailo for the finals. So cup needs to come in clutch for John, and so far it is happening. 10 villagers lead is nice and confident. He's gonna have a defensive castle up over here, but look at the score lead. There's a 1000 score lead for John the Fearless, coming from the KD, coming from the eco advantage. In every aspect of the game, I think John the Fearless is leading compared to Ivailo. And another villager goes down, and the knights can just keep running around. They find a hole over here as well. Ivailo has 3 on food. He won't be able to add villagers, and he will just fall behind the eco because of that. Like, yeah, he's gonna have a castle up, congratulations, but what are you going to do with that, right? Whereas if you take a look at John's eco, now it's completely untouched, and he's gonna have a crazy big boom here. 67 villagers against 56. Market coming out now for Ivailo. I would assume that he will actually start selling stone and use the resources that he gets from there to at least keep adding villagers. He's now 4 TCs trying to get back into the game, but I think we're going into the decider game. And what a better way to finish this series than an even ground victory for or an even ground final decider game. By the way, John never was leading in this series. He was always behind. He was behind by 2-0, then 2-1, evened it out, then once again fell behind 3-2, and he could actually even it out 3-3. So the only time he's leading, as he deletes both knights upon seeing one monk. He didn't know which of these are getting converted, so he deleted both. So the only time where John might be leading in this entire series could potentially be after the final game, but, well, the only time when you have to lead in a certain set is at the end of the set, right? And I think that this might be an MGG here. Like, this game feels so over. 82 villagers to 65, but look at the resources. John the Fearless is actually going into Imperial, and what he's gonna do is add Galleons once again. And really, I think John the Fearless is unbeaten on this map so far. He has won against Leiloy in the round of 16s. He has won against Philip the Good in the quarterfinals, and he seems to be winning this against Ivailo in the semifinals. Do you guys think that John the Fearless will be picking this as his home map for the grand finals as well, if he gets there? Obviously, he needs to get there first, and for that he needs to win this game, and he needs to win the next game as well. But he's getting there slowly, because he's got a fairly decisive lead right now. The Mangonel will actually survive. Another castle comes in for Ivailo. Like, Wood Raiders would be nice. But other than that, I feel like At this point, John is going to tech into what seems to be just Champion Ram. That was the same unit composition that he used in the previous 2 rounds as well. No Galleon just yet. Champion Trap could also work out, he's got 9 on stone, but he will probably have to open with Rams because he doesn't have a castle. If I could criticize something, John the Fearless should actually send 2 more Voyagers to stone because you want to have a castle as soon as possible, you want to have traps. Ivilo isn't actually that much behind in imp time right now, but it's a 23 Voyagers lead. Also, John actually is taking down these buildings at his own pace, and now it's 12 Voyagers on stone, so we'll have a castle. I would think that this castle goes up over here to a safe position. Longswordman just now coming in, and Man-at-Arms already being queued up. So, at this very moment, I don't think that Ivilo is going to resign upon seeing his opponent being in Imperial, because he's also in Imperial himself. But I feel like this game, there is very, very little chance for Ivilo. That's 2,000 score difference, and that's a legit difference. He's gonna have no Imperial Age army. He's against 23 army with just 20 Voyagers behind. It's 89 pop against 125. And his opponent is an Imperial. Castle is up just in time, and I think you make traps immediately if you're John. Indeed, here comes the first trap. It looks like this time we're not going to see ships from John, although that might still change. And with that, is it worth getting War Galley? It's not that expensive. You don't need it for fire ships. I don't think you need it. The only reason why you would get War Galley here is if you actually want to go for a couple of Galleons to control the pawns, which would very well be the case. John could just say, okay, I'm gonna go Galleons and control these pawns. It looks like we're probably gonna have Void Raiders here, and the mobility of the Void Raiders could be something that's tough for Japanese to deal with, but believe it or not, this could be time for potentially Samurai. And the other thing is that you can just trap these castles down. You don't need to actually chase the Void Raiders right now. Nice quick calls over there for Ivilo. You see, there is so much space to fall back. This is what I was talking about, that you can just fall back over here, get a safe castle up, and that means that your opponent is going to have a tough time killing all of your castles. Still, traps, champions, and potentially a couple of samurai would be very, very helpful here. Like, samurai will absolutely tear apart Void Raiders. So Imperial Age is in, but I think the only thing that you have to do if you are John the Fearless is just take down the opponent's castles. And the champions for Japanese are actually better than champions for Celts. Champion on the way already for John the Fearless. Ivilo has quite a lot of Void Raiders, but I feel like these Void Raiders aren't really going to do much. +2 defense, no attack upgrades. They have no mobility, but don't really have the damage output potential. And it won't actually compensate you for the fact that you will start losing your castles. It's 2 traps only. Third one just now coming in for John, as he's trying to bash his way through these walls to the gold mine. It looks like it's gonna be a big Void Raider counterattack, but that's all that John is hoping in. This defensive castle is gonna be nice, and John still needs to be careful about this counterattack, but he's in exchange losing his castle. A second castle could be lost here as well, and without castles you won't have Void Raiders. Apparently the mining camp goes down and the Voyagers here will die as well. 113 Voyagers against 93, and it's actually a big raid, but you can get a couple of samurai out from this castle. Nice quick walls from our blue player, or just the castle fire, TC fire should be enough to weaken this resistance. And more importantly, as I said, now a champion will come in with arson and they will just dive in right on the castle. I feel like this game feels very much over. These Void Raiders are actually nice here, but I don't think they will do enough. They could do quite a lot of raiding, and I definitely feel like this is something that John has to react to. Get a couple of champions in here or samurai, but if you look at the other side of the map, this game feels omega over. 88 Voyagers for Ivilo, lost the Voyagers over here on the left and on the right as well. Castle goes down, and Ivilo versus John the Fearless, a series which looked very much in the favor of Ivilo, now go to a decider game. So Chaos is gone as well for Ivilo, and once again John the Fearless is really being fearless on Cup. It is the decider game, and well, Ivailo has a Khmer and Franks left for Mudflow. It's going to be a neutral map. Neither of these players selected Mudflow as their home maps, and which means we're gonna have Khmer and Franks remaining versus Indians and Teutons. It is probably, in this case, both Khmer and Franks are amazing for this map, but I think Khmer is slightly better than Franks. So I would think it's Khmer versus Teutons. I will actually take a half a second break here before the final game, and then we'll jump into game number 7. Okay, so let's get going with game number 7. So, the decider game. It's very, very simple. A simple mud flow game. Whoever gets into the grand finals will be decided by a single game on a neutral map. So, we go to Mudflow, and there were a lot of discussions if this is Viper or not. I think if this is actually Viper, indeed, and I believe he is for Ivailo, then he's gonna have a bit of an advantage on a Mudflow because Gamer Legion seem to be liking this map over here. So left side will be Ivailo playing as Khmer in red, right side will be John the Fearless playing as blue in Indians. The really tricky thing here is that this map also suits Hera's playstyle a tiny bit if John is indeed Hera, because it is a very, very open map on the outside, and we know how devastating Hera can be with a Scout's play. So with that, I think this game is completely open for both players. What I like about the position for Ivailo is that he can jump into houses, and that should be an extremely important bonus. You see that he's already dropping a house there. The house here is actually being dropped to make sure that if there's any kind of raid aggression coming in, you can always jump in there. That's one of the most important things in here. So, the other option, by the way, for Ivailo was Franks, which is an equally good civilization for this map because of the berries, cheaper castles, good scouts play. But I think Khmer is actually a top tier civ for this map. And I think one of the biggest bonuses that you get is the ability to jump into houses to protect your eco. The other thing is that your farming is much, much easier to do on the outside. So you got no drop-off point need, so you can just spam farms wherever you want, and you're gonna be much, much easier farming than your opponent is doing so. So, with that, John the Fearless is actually bringing in the first boar, and we are gonna have... I think the first boar is already in for Ivailo. Indeed, he has started consuming that already, and we'll have a mill. So standard start over here for Ivailo playing free on wood for scouts. On the other side, John the Fearless is playing 4 on wood with Indians, and 4 on wood often is an indication that the player might actually go for a dock, or it could be a mana terms play even, which would be interesting and surprising, although I wouldn't really like it. Because the thing is that a mana terms play is rather slow. It is definitely surprising and could catch your opponent off guard, but you need mobility on this map, especially early on, I believe. That being said, this could definitely be an archer's build even. So Spearman Archer moving up could be pretty devastating against the opponent's eco here, or you could potentially even see a dock, although I wouldn't really like the dock play, because from my experience on this map, which is somewhat limited since we are seeing this map played only a couple of times in this tournament, it was very frequently played in the main event, but it was only played in the main event, so we haven't seen more than 10 Mudflow games over here, so the meta isn't really figured out, but from what we have seen, it is actually more important to be able to push the opponent's eco here on the outside than it is to push him away from the wood in the middle. Because you can always go to these wood lines over here on the outside if you get pushed off from the middle. It's not ideal, but it works. But if you actually push the opponent's land eco, then he's gonna have a really significant trouble with the food income. This is really problematic because of the food income. That being said, that's a very fast field age over here for both players. We have an 18 pop for Evilo and a 17 pop for John the Fearless. We have Loom for both players, and it's actually going to be a dock for Evilo. This is partially just to block this area, and correct me if I'm wrong, it wasn't Evilo who played fish traps on this map, right? There was one player in the tournament that actually played fish traps on this map, and it looks like we will have some galleys coming in. The thing is that if you collect gold over here, you will actually be able to afford 2 galleys for 60 gold. That is probably the reason why Vilo is doing that. See? He's not adding more vouchers to gold. A fire galley would be 45, so even when you have 50 gold, that makes no sense to add vouchers on gold to go for the fire galley. The only way that you actually add the voyager on gold, take 10 gold, is if you want to make 2 galleys here. Other side, it looks like we're gonna have a standard stable play over here. John the Fearless will actually do some big balls over here on the right side, as a stable comes in right now for Evilo, and it looks like he isn't able to afford galleys currently. I remember that with Khmer you don't have to make a barracks to have the stable out, which definitely helps quite a bit, and that actually saves you quite a lot of wood. And now these villagers are going on the berries. Scouts are out, and indeed here comes the first galley for the time being. It seems like a good food eco so far for Evilo. Scouts are already out for John, and it looks like this scout has already been weakened severely by a spearman and additional scout. And as I said, I feel like I like the pure land play a little bit better than the water play. The meta isn't really well figured out, but this is where the Khmer power has to come into play. Jump into houses if you are actually under pressure. If you don't, you're just gonna get raided to death with the scouts of the opponent. And it really looks like Evilo knows about that Civ bonus, and he can jump into houses. That's one of the most underrated bonuses of Khmer, and even without the food eco, that would make Khmer a legitimate civilization for open maps, like for example Atacama as well. If I have to play, like, I sometimes play in these small Discord tournaments, and so as we have the vouchers coming in, and I genuinely hate playing super open maps like Atacama or Land Madness, but whenever I have to, I always play with Khmer. Same thing for Acropolis. In Ranked Ladder, if I get put to Atacama or Acropolis or so, I always play Khmer because of this bonus. Because it's so nice and neat bonus. Defensive tower is up for John, which means that the galleys won't be able to deny this one, but the scouts could, and John actually wants to wall off a significant portion of the map over here in an effort to completely block his opponent from hitting his eco. The scouts are now jumping on the villagers of Evilo, losing no villagers as of yet, but now that is going to be the first villager biting the dust. Other side, there was a villager killed that was making the wall, so right now the villager KD is 1-1. Both players have scouts inside the opponent's eco, but the difference is that while John the Fearless has a spearman defending his villagers, there is no spearman for Evilo. He's got a couple of galleys, but these are sort of useless. There will be archers coming in, but the lack of spearman is actually going to be extremely problematic for Evilo. And once again, the scouts will jump on the wood line, and I feel like John the Fearless is actually playing this one slightly better. We have a couple of scouts over here that actually dragged out the spearman all the way to the outside over here. A poke is going to be landed on one of these scouts. But still, I personally do not like this fast, stable play of Khmer. This is extremely good in team games where you don't have to make spearmen, but not so amazing in 1v1s because the lack of spearmen could actually hurt your chances at actually winning scout wars. That being said, the food eco for Evilo is still fairly consistent, dropping farms on the outside. You already have some farms for John the Fearless. Both players are playing without horse color for time being. And once again, Voyager is running for the house. What you have to be careful about though is that, yeah, they will jump into the house, but they will still be weak Voyagers, and at some point there will be a unit that comes their way and kills them. So that's the thing. Right now there are a lot of them are weak, so when those scouts come back, they could actually catch them off guard, and early bloodlines coming in for John the Fearless. And as I said, I feel like such an open land-based map is something that Hera loves to play on, and as much as the map pool of Hidden Cup was somewhat nerfing Hera and Leary potentially, because many of the maps were closed or usually going late game or hybrid maps, this map is definitely something that can suit the style of such players, and you can jump into houses, but you can only fit in 5 Voyagers. Do they heal in houses? I think they do. Spearmen are now poking down those scouts as well. There is no upgrades for Evilo. He's up against Bloodline scouts with blood +1/+1. And we might see Evilo exiting the tournament here. We might see Evilo exiting the tournament because it's one thing that your Voyagers are alive. It's a different thing that they're actually all idle. And oh my goodness, if this was really Viper, and that's a quick GG here, wishing good luck to the opponent. And I did mention that not a single moment in this series did John the Fearless lead. He was always behind in overall score. But if there is one moment where you want to lead against your opponent, it's after the decider game. And what a comeback this was from John the Fearless. After 2 games, it seemed like Ivaio is going to 4-0 him. And to our best knowledge, it seems like this was a Viper versus Hera. After the grand finals, we'll actually see if this really was. And if it really was a Viper versus Hera, then this is going to be the first time that Hera beats Viper in a big S-tier event. 60 minutes. This map, as I said, is a neutral map. Neither of the players had this as a home map, but it looks like the open style of this map really suits John the Fearless here. And indeed, he was really fearless. I think that he played his best games when it mattered the most. And just think about this one. First round, John the Fearless was almost out against Layloy. Then came the cup game that decided things, and John the Fearless was able to edge it out. John the Fearless decided, he didn't decide the series there, but he actually landed a very important victory on cup against Philip the Good as well. And then when it needed the most, down 1 game, match point, he actually delivered another cup victory. And John the Fearless is actually going to get into the finals. So Ivaio is not Viper. I think it's him. I think it was a Viper versus Hera setup over here. And the thing is, I just want to say something about that ban. Indeed, it would be reasonable for the opponent, for John the Fearless, to ban Cup, but you can't actually do that necessarily because it is first pick, ban, pick. So basically, each player will have 1 home map pick before the bans. And that means that it is very possible that John the Fearless will be playing in the Grand Finals on Cup once again. With that, John the Fearless is in the Grand Finals, and I assume that the finals will start soon.